Okay, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpaha. This is Rabbi Kefa coming in from home base here in San Antonio. If I can be heard, can I get a one, please? I just want to do a mic check here as we fire it up on this end, Central Time here in the blessed state of Texas and the blessed country of the United States of America. Todah for your responses, and thank you, Todah, for your greetings as well. I greet you all with a Shabbat Shalom as well. And I hope you have a marvelous Shabbat Shalom with your family, your friends, and your loved ones who are encircled around you. Baruch Hashem, Master Jesus of Nazareth, for another opportunity to do great works in the name of the Master Yeshua, to do great works for the very Creator of the heavens and the universes, and to better ourselves, to be found pleasing in the sight of the Most Highest in everything that we do, in every area of our lives. But I firmly believe that we must understand is that we must stick with the basics. We must master the fundamentals. That's important. You all must become masters, even as servants. How many of you in this room right now consider yourself a servant? Put up a one for that one. To be a servant, you also must master. You must become a master at the basics. You must become a master of the basics. What does the Creator of the heavens and the universes want for me? How does the Creator, how does the Master Yeshua want me to live my life? How truly do I make and qualify for the kingdom of the Most Highest? These things are important. Once you begin to understand what you're supposed to do, then you must master that. You must rinse and repeat, master. Get better and better at it daily, nightly. Live your life. This is truly the ground roots, the grits and the greens of living a fulfilled life. And as you have noted, as you all growing in wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and as you have come into the confines of the Torah, under the umbrella of the Torah, wherever you're at your level with the Torah, you need to understand this, is that it's not difficult. It's really easy to do, but the question is, will you do it? It's quite simple, but majority of the time, self holds self back from success, from succeeding in anything. You see, because when you have to get up and roll out of the bed and go to work, 5 days, 6 days, 4 days out of the week, and you decide, I want to sleep in a little bit. This bed, this mattress is very comfortable. I just don't want to get up right now. And you're late for work. Who are you to blame? You're blaming the evil one? You're blaming the negative forces in the universes? You're pointing a finger at your spouse? You're blaming your alarm clock? Oh, the battery in your smartphone went out, so the alarm didn't go off. All of these excuses, pointing a finger at everybody else, when at the end of the day you have to really own up to responsibility. And that's what you're going to note in our history in this Parsha, is that the brothers on both sides, they were wrong, right? Sometimes in life, and the majority of the time, you'll find that it takes two sides, it takes two wrongs to make a right. Think about it. Did not Joseph do wrong? And did not the brothers do wrong, right? So it takes two wrongs to make a right. So when both sides can come together, and you can take this and apply it to relationships as well on many different other levels. Matrimony, girlfriend, boyfriend, mother, father, siblings, brother and sister. If at the end of the day you want success in this particular relationship, whatever it may be, the two sides must come together. The two sides must realize, oh, I see where I've done wrong. My Aisha was actually talking to me about this last night. My wife was literally talking to me about this last night, and how, you must realize is that two sides must come together. One side can't say they're all right, and the other side can't say they're all wrong. But it's that meeting in the middle. And we've had many lectures, many discussions, much instruction on this very thing. How many of you understand this and are still dealing with this issue? I would encourage you and tell you to continue to perfect it. I know I am. We must continue to perfect this. Because a lot of times our ego will get in the way, and it'll prevent us from really becoming fulfilled people in our lives. Because we always want to own up to we're always right. You see what I mean? We always want to own up to, oh, I didn't do anything wrong. When in actuality you could have done something, you could always done something better, right? Go in with this understanding and truly begin to develop this understanding and this character. And believe me, you'll see a lot more miracles manifested in your life. Because I want you to note the character traits that our forefathers, our patriarchs, especially here you look at Joseph and the interaction that he's having with his other brother, who his brother doesn't see him as a brother at that time, and Yahudah. You know, Yahudah understands that he did a lot of wrong things wrong. But again, he still stepped up to the plate as a servant. You read it right here out of our books, out of our history. Is that Joseph said, time and time again, Yahudah told Joseph, your servant, our father, me as your servant. So when we look at the character traits, that's what's important, that we look at and examine character traits. How we're to carry ourselves. Not just to examine the character traits, but to literally make those traits a part of our lives. Yahudah, the Torah gives us time and time again example of service. I'm your servant. I'm your servant. This is how Yahudah was talking to his brother, younger brother at that, who he didn't know at the time. But he felt like he was before a king. I am your servant. Your servant. You must begin to, you really want to fix a relationship, mend a relationship, heal a relationship, better a relationship. This is one of the greatest character traits that you can have. Remember we talked about earlier, master the fundamentals. As a servant, you still must become a master. And as a teacher, you're always a student. So you should always be trying to learn something. Always, every day. Taking that acceleration up the ramp as you elevate yourselves. Every day you should aspire and desire, Mishpahah, to want to do those things. Is to better yourself. Don't ever get satisfied with where you are. Always desire more. Want more wisdom. Want more patience. Want more understanding. Want more compassion. Want more love. Want more long-suffering. Desire these things for yourself. And then go out and materialize them by beginning to demonstrate better and better and better what you've already known works. Torah works. Yes, you're home, but just because you get home, that doesn't mean you prop your feet up on the kitchen table or on the living room table and say, okay, I'm done. Where's the remote control because I'm home? No, now the work just begins. How many of you really understand that you're still unlearning a lot of things? You have to make room in yourselves to learn more by unlearning many of the things that you have in your life that needs to be rid of. Some of these things you won't rid of them overnight. Some of these things are like being sprayed with a skunk. It'll stay with you for a while. Even though you're washing that, trying to wash the stench off, you're bathing in Epsom salt and your cranberry juice, whatever they say is the remedy for skunk juice spray. You realize that smell stays with you for a while, even though you're trying to wash it off. You're like, well, Rabbi Kefa, where did that come from? Well, it brings back to mind that one time Pharaoh got sprayed by a skunk, and I remember he comes in the house, my goodness, and I'm wondering, what is this funky smell? Well, it's Pharaoh. He done funked up the house because he's out there, having a relationship with a skunk. And so the skunk gave him some of the skunk juice, and I remember that smell. Even though I watched Pharaoh, 100 times, seems like, the smell was still there, and the smell didn't rid for about, a couple of, in the house for about a month. A couple of weeks had passed. So maybe some of you have that funky smell on you, per se, with, these types of behaviors that you have developed over time. They won't go away overnight, but you must continue to work at ridding yourselves of those. And one of the best ways that you can rid yourselves of negative characteristics and negative traits is begin to develop the positive ones. You see, begin to show more loving kindness, more respect, more honor. Begin to become more of a servant. Begin to become more of a giver. You see, because how many of you understand when you give, it comes back to you? It literally does. When you give, it comes right back to you. It really, really does. You see, you can run around here hating, but what does that do at the end of the day? That doesn't do anything for you. Hating doesn't do anything. Hate will hurt you. You see, because when you give hate, guess what comes back to you? Think about it. It's just that simple. A lot of people don't understand that. The universal laws, the laws of the heavens and the universes, that you can't change them. So whatever you give out is what's going to come back to you. Look at Yehudah in our Parsha. What did he give out to Yosef, who was trying to play hardcore? He gave out, I'm going to just read you one verse. I'm going to read you this verse from Bereshit, from Genesis, on what Yehudah, in his explanation to Yosef, who's seen as the viceroy, who's seen as, Pharaoh's mini-me. Look at what he says here. Look at Genesis chapter 44. For instruction, let's read just verses 32 and 33. For your servant became pledge for the lad to my father, saying, if I do not bring him back to you, then I shall bear the blame before my father forever. For your servant, remember that servant kind of what? Character trait. That servant kind of attitude. You see, what needs to change in us is our attitude towards life, towards our relationships with family members, friends, and loved ones on all these levels. So, not only do we see a servant, but let's read the next verse for instruction as well. Genesis 44 and 33. Now, therefore, please let your servant remain instead of the lad as a slave to my master, and let the lad go up with his brothers. What do you see in that verse 33, Mishpahah? What do you see there? Can anybody tell me? What do you see in that verse 33? If you can sum it up in a character trait, a characteristic, what do you see there? Give me a descriptive word, an adjective for what you see there. Read the verse again if you have to. And tell me what you see there in your opinion. Now, always remember that don't be shy here. You're running around here calling everybody family and family. Well, you don't have to be shy around your family. But I want you to begin to open up your thinking, your thought process, and how you think, so you can begin to understand yourself. And you truly can begin to understand this Torah at whatever level you're at. You can begin to understand the Torah. You see, because don't look at Torah as some kind of joke, and don't see it as rote, but actually let this Torah become manifested and become part of your life. These great stories, this great history that we have, on our bookshelves. Don't let it just collect dust. Learn these lessons so you can begin to apply the very same tools. We've been equipped with great tools. How many of you understand that? So I'd encourage you to look at Genesis chapter 44, verses 33. And when you read that, I'll read it again for instruction. But you read that, and what sticks out? What character trait comes to you? Now, therefore, please, let your servant remain instead of the lad, as a slave to my master, and let the lad go up with his brothers. What do you see here? If you could sum it up in one adjective, one adverb, whatever word you want to use, descriptive word, to see what character trait Yahudah is exhibiting here. Any takers on that? What is going on here? We see service, right? We talked about that one earlier. There it goes, right there. Tadafa that Torah. That's just what I see. Service, and then you sacrifice. My goodness, that's heavy, right? Eddie says protection and responsibility with also great character traits. There's no wrong answer here. But do you see that? Sacrifice. Not only is he saying, look, I'm your servant, but I'm willing to sacrifice. You see, the question that you need to ask yourselves this day is, truly, am I really willing to sacrifice? What am I willing to sacrifice to truly be found pleasing in the eyes of the Creator of the heavens and the universes? I mean, what am I willing to sacrifice to, be found pleasing in His sight? To do what's right, quote, in quotes. You see, because most folks have a skewed understanding of what's right, because they see what's right in their own sight. You see, they see what's right in their sight of what man says according to man, and not what God says according to man, what God says according to God. You see, that's a big difference. You see, so sacrifice. How many of you in this room have made some sort of sacrifice this week or lately, or just even in your life in general? Life is truly, yes, it's a life about service. It's a life about shalom. It's a life also about sacrifice. You must be willing to make sacrifice to get the things that you want, that you desire in life. You see, because when you begin to give out sacrifice, guess what happens? Sacrifice comes back to you. Think about this now. You see, everything you give out. You see, people have this misconstrued notion that giving is just only of monetary value. No, it's not. You can give your time. You can give your effort. You can give all of these great attributes of love. When you give love, you don't have to pay for that. You just give it. When you give sacrifice, when you give out sacrifice, guess what's going to come back to you? When you show and you give out kindness, guess what's going to come back to you? But if you float through this room, or you just have a mentality, or you're thinking in your mind, I'm never going to be nothing. I hate this person. Blah 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 blah. All these negative things. Well, guess what's going to be materialized in your life? The very same things that you're giving out. The very same things. And yeah, you don't even have to say it. You can just be thinking it. This is why your thought process is so important. It's so important that you fill your mind with positive things, uplifting things. Because your mouth can tell you one thing, but your mind can be, somewhere else. We must master the fundamentals. We must begin to understand truly ourselves. We must truly begin to what? Master ourselves. You can be servant to all, but you need to learn to master yourself. You need to learn to control your environment, and don't allow your environment to control you. How many of you know what I'm talking about there? That's from the Imhokma, by the way. And so when you begin to do that, you will begin to experience and begin to put yourself on that road to a fuller life. Your life should get fuller every day. You see, but the majority of the time, we're so hoodwinked and bamboozled, and the stumbling block of mistake gets in our way. And all we do is focus on the mistake. We focus on what we did wrong. We focused on how poorly we performed. But as you see in this Parsha, and this is what came to my mind as I read this Parsha, the mistake is the miracle. The so-called mistake in your life is actually the miracle. But a lot of folks miss it. Why? It's because they dwell on the what? On the mistake. Many of you right now, you're dwelling on the mistake. And you cannot see the road for the trees because you dwell on the mistake. Well, Rabbi, if I'd have just did this different, if I'd have just, well, Rabbi, you just don't understand. Get beyond that and see the miracle in the mistake. Joseph made a mistake in his relationship with his brothers. Can we say that? His brothers made a mistake in how they handled and how they saw their brother Joseph. But do you not see in our history, in this great story, how the mistake became the miracle? Do you see that, Mishpah? And not only did the mistake, and see, this is what you must understand. It's because in your world, what you do, it doesn't just affect you, but it affects the people around you as well. How many of you know what I'm talking about? It can affect your children. It can affect your spouse. It can affect your friends. It can affect everything around you. What you do. So don't be selfish for a minute and think, oh, well, that's it only affects me. No, it doesn't. It affects everyone around you. You don't believe me? Look at this great story that we're reading in our history about the relationships with Jacob and his family and his sons. Those brothers doing that, that terrible thing to their brother Joseph, did it not affect Jacob? Did it not affect Jacob as well? Think about this. It has an effect. Brothers, and anger, you see, this is why, you must not cloud the weaknesses that you have as far as your character traits are concerned. You see, because you see where anger can take you? Anger can take you down a path that affects not only you, not only the other person, but everybody around. Because they were so frustrated and angry with their brother Joseph, and they did this bad thing. They were conjuring up what? Not positivity. They were conjuring up. Some folks were even talking. Some of the brothers were even talking about let's just kill him off. No, let's just sell him. Let's just such a pain in the butt. Just causing all this trouble. Maybe there was a little jealousy mixed in with the anger, making a nice, sour, poisonous gumbo, filling it with just a bunch of negativity, things that don't uplift, things that are not encouraging. So then it takes you down this slippery slope of just disaster, chaos. Understand that you will make mistakes in life. But mistakes are made because why? We're human beings. But see through the mistake, the miracle. Because in a mistake, you can grow. In a mistake, you can grow. Growth happens when you make a mistake. Because you grow and you learn, and some folks would even call it experience. You become very experienced in marriage, in dating, in the particular job field that you're in. You become better. Mistakes make you better. But most of the time, as human beings, we want to just dwell on the mistake. Oh, man, How many of you know what I'm talking about? And you can't see the miracle for the trees of the mistake. The trees of mistake just block you from seeing the road, seeing the miracle. That's just maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead. Because we dwell too much on the mistake. Oh man, woulda, shoulda, coulda. No, let's take the mistake, learn from it, align ourselves with the proper character traits that we need to have to go forward. You see, when you begin to walk in love, in shalom, in peace, Shabbat Shalom to you, Virgo, Tigress. When you begin to walk in shalom and in peace and in loving kindness and compassion for all humanity, that includes plants, animals, and people as well. You'll begin to see how this becomes kryptonite. These positive characteristics become kryptonite against the negative forces. Those negative things that pop into your head when someone, you see, every reaction, this is law, by the way, every action requires a reaction. You do this every day, over and over and over again. Every action that is done to you or that you do yourself requires an equal and opposite reaction. It's science. Believe me, it's true. It's the law. It's the law of the universes. One of them. So when you begin to understand that, indeed, Virgo calls it the cause and effect. You see, that is going to happen. You see, so since we know that this is law and this is, this is real stuff here. We're not living in the by and by. This is not Mary Poppins story here. This is real stuff. So when you begin to understand this, then you need to ask yourself, well, what am I putting out there? What kind of character traits am I putting out? Am I putting out negative, positive character traits? What am I doing? Let me think about this action that I'm about to take, knowing that there will be a reaction to what I do. And it can be as simple as this. You could be walking in the mall, walking in the grocery store. Somebody walks past you. You can just tell by their face that, everything is just not cool. Or they're walking around and they just have this frown about them. They have this energy about them, this vibe that you just know that, man, this person needs a pick-me-upper. Maybe, and some maybe can, maybe associate a pick-me-upper with a drink. But, don't go around giving people drinks, carrying around a bottle of vodka in your bag. And, oh, here you go, you need a pick-me-upper. No, maybe somebody just needs a hello or a good morning or how are you today? Have a great day. Maybe it's even telling them, hey, Merry Christmas to you. And I hope you have a Happy New Year. And you'll see that action, you'll sit there and watch the effect, the cause and effect of that, as Vertigo calls it. The cause and effect of that will be, you'll see either they'll tell you that back or they may even smile. When they were walking around looking like the Grinch or Ebenezer Scrooge. And then you give them these words. Words are powerful, Mishpahah. You all know that. But we must learn how to use them in a positive way to edify and uplift people as we want to give esteem to our very Creator. This is how we get on with that. You want a vertical relationship with the Creator of the heavens and the universes. Well, then do right parallel with His creations. This is how you truly have a great relationship with the creators of the heavens and the universes. Is you respect and you give honor and you do right by what you've been given dominion of here on this earth. You've been given dominion of this earth, haven't we? Correct me if I'm wrong. That's been given to man to have dominion over this earth. So then we must respect all parts of it. You can't just pick and choose what you want to respect, what you want to give honor to, who you like, who you dislike. You shouldn't have no dislikes about anyone. Maybe you don't appreciate their behavior, but the person is a creator of the heavens and the universes as well, just like you are. So what needs to be found is, see, it's easy to pick out the bad in people, but how about deciding today that I'm going to only want to search for the good, and I want to uplift and nurture the goodness in everyone, because regardless of who you are, some maybe you have to dig a little bit deeper than others, but there's good in all peoples. There's good in all peoples, Mishpahal. But here's the question. What are you willing to sacrifice to find that good? And sometimes it's just easy as you opening your mouth and saying, hey, good morning. Have a great day. Make your day great. God bless you. Or in this festive season to the end now, Merry Christmas to you. And I hope you have a Happy New Year. You see where we're going here? Put all this class. You see, all these negative barriers have been put up. They want to classify you based on color, character, creed, who your mama was, who your daddy is, social economic. Stop all of that drama. That's just, that's commentary. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of life. Come on, Mishpahah. Yet all of you say, oh, I'm a light to the world. Are you really a light to the world? Or are you darkness to this world? Think about it. Ask yourself these questions. What are you willing to sacrifice? Well, Rabbi, you're telling me that I have to... I'm telling you, it's just as simple as you being kind to your mother and your father, being kind to your children, uplifting your wife, honoring your husband. Is this simple. Simplicity. Remember, we talked about earlier, Mishpahah, it's important to master the fundamentals. You as servants, you must become masters of the basics. Master the basics. All of you want all of these great understandings. You want more wisdom. You want more of this. You petition to the Imhokmah. You petition to the Mother Wisdom for more wisdom, more understanding. And a lot of times the Imhokmah, Mother Wisdom, the Holy Spirit, she's telling you, you need to master the fundamentals. More wisdom will come in time when you master the fundamentals. Now, anybody know anything about mastery? What's the deal with mastery? Well, I like to watch these kung fu movies, and in every one of the kung fu movies I watch, I see these students, they have a master. And every time I see these masters, they're always very old, right? Have any of you ever seen a young master? These masters, they're always very, very old. They got these long gray beards, and they have a cane in their hand. And, they just, they look, in my dictionary, they epitomize wisdom. They just look like wise people, wise men. Yeah, they call them sensei, they call them master. In the Chinese vernacular, they call them shifu. They call them shifu. Master, teacher, you see. They do these things. And these masters, they always look very old. So hint, hint, what is the key to mastery? Hint, think about it. Yeah, the Japanese call them sensei. Yeah, you're right. So what is the hint behind mastery when you master something? You're an old master? Yeah. To master yourself? Yeah, we talked about mastering yourself. Absolutely. But not necessarily that you have to be old, but it has to become almost like second nature because you continually practice it to where it just becomes, you unconsciously do these things. When you can get to the point to where you just unconsciously are just positive, you just unconsciously can go up to anyone and talk to them, regardless of, if their hair is straight or curly, regardless of, color of their skin, regardless of how much money they have in their pocket. Then you have mastered this area. Well, Rabbi, you're talking about a fictitious world. No, I'm not, because I do understand that in this world, in this universe, there must be balance, you see. You must have balance. So just like there's good in this world, there's going to be bad. But we decide, and I hope all of you as well decide, to live on the good side. And the good that we do can outshine any bad. Look at this story in our history, in our rich history that we're reading about now. The brothers of Jacob. The brothers of Jacob, they did a lot of, the sons of Jacob did a lot of bad things. They did some, and they understand, and I'm pretty sure that it stuck with them at what they did to their brother Joseph. That stuck with them. That was terrible what they did. So when it came time for Benjamin to step up and be taken away from their father, what did they do? They say, okay, they learned from their past lessons. Okay, yeah, we did this bad. This should have never happened. This should have never happened. So we're not going to let Benjamin get taken away. Benjamin, we're not going to allow him to be taken away. Yehudah definitely learned his lesson. He stepped up and said what? He said, you know what? Instead of, taking my younger brother, take me instead as your servant. Take me. What is that? Sacrifice. Servant and sacrifice. You see, Yehudah was beginning to understand how to master the basics. In mastery of the basics, you must be willing to sacrifice. What are you willing to sacrifice? You must ask yourself this day. This is not one of those questions that you keyboard warrior and type it in. Oh, I'm gonna master this. No, you literally need to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, truly, what am I willing to sacrifice to get to my desired goal? You see, Yehudah had a desired goal. Is that he was not going to allow his brother, his younger brother, to be lost, just like his other brother was, which he had a hand in. He said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, come Shiloh or Sheol. He said, come Shiloh or Sheol, Father. I'm not going to allow Benjamin to go down the same road Joseph went down. Sacrifice. He's even willing to sacrifice himself, put himself in that person's place. And I tell you what, as you all are students of nature, as you are students of the Torah, it's important that you do understand that sacrifice of self, giving of self, is one of the greatest characteristics you can do. To give of yourself. To give yourself. That's one of the greatest things. And when you do these positive traits, these positive character traits, these, selflessness, consideration, compassion, truly love, it just dwarfs all of the negative things. And I'm telling you, I would encourage you to exercise this in your 6 days of labor. Some people today in 2018 would call it killing them with kindness, killing them with love, killing them with compassion. You may know this person hates you. You may know this individual just does not like you, totally detests you, don't want you around them. But you have to deal with these individuals. Remember, we talked about parallel relationships. How do you get on with these kind of people? That's going to be in your, no matter what you do. Some people just not going to just like you. Come on, let's face it. I know a lot of you have really owned up to that fact. Is that no matter what you do, some people are just not going to like you. And that's okay. I'm not saying that you have to like everybody. But what I'm saying is that you must present yourself to be an open door. Just like Abraham had an open door to everyone. You must present yourself that folks are not detracted from you, but are attracted to you. And ask yourself this day, do I attract people to me, or do I attract people away from me? This is truly one of the telltale signs for yourself, to truly test yourself. and grade yourself. Do people gravitate towards me, or do people gravitate away from me? Truly a great lesson to ask yourself, to see, where are your characteristics on the characteristic meter? Am I the same as my father Abraham? Well, people will just come to me and I can talk to anybody. It's not based on what your religion is, or based on your socioeconomic status, or based on the color of your skin, or based on if you smell like perfume, or if you smell like Porky Pig. Doesn't matter at the end of the day. My thing is I want to make people feel good. That's my thing. If I could just make a person feel good, if it's just with a word, some kind of kind act, I just like making people feel good. Making them laugh, maybe tell them a good joke and make them laugh. You just want to make people feel good. How many people want to do that in the world today? Most folks have another agenda. They trying to, because they're trying to get to the top, they have to tear everybody down. No, don't have that. God forbid, Yah forbid you have that kind of, thought process. But in order to make people feel good, I realized I myself must feel good first. How am I going to make other people feel good if I don't feel good, huh? Think about it. So these positive character traits, they must be instilled and built into yourselves. This is why you must master yourself. Master the fundamentals. You must master yourself. Yet, in today's society, we haven't taken the time to get to know ourselves. It's because we want to become so selfless and take care of others that we neglect self. This is why we've always taught here, and I will continue to teach here, is that you must be selfish with yourself. You must get to know yourself. You must spend quality time with yourself. I can tell you, just by being a student of human nature, is that a lot of folks don't know themselves. And a lot of folks don't like themselves. I see it. I see it just by what they say and the mannerisms on how they carry themselves. They don't love themselves. They definitely don't like themselves. They actually hate themselves. Why? It's because what is manifested in their actions and what comes out of their mouth is total hatred. Oh, I hate this, I hate this, I hate that. Guess what? You hate yourself. You notice little children. Little children run around here saying, especially when they get to the age where they learn how to talk and they're putting syntax, they're putting sentences together. They're running around here saying, have you heard it? They're like little parrots. They're running around saying, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Oh, I love you, I love you, I love you. Any of you ever heard little children do that? They'll run around, oh, I love you, I love you. Strangers, they may not even know them. Run up to a dog, oh, I love you. Oh, look at the bird. Oh, I love you, bird, I love you. Children of Israel, learn from children. Learn from this. Learn from this, Mishpahah. Or they're running around here saying, why? 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 What you have to do? Why? 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 But why, Mommy? But why? But why? Why did this dog bark? Why? 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 They'll give you the why scenario as well. Learn from this. He's saying, well, Rabbi, and you shouldn't be asking this question. Well, why is all of this important? Why is all this positivity and treating my neighbor kindly? Is because we're told to do so. This is why. The greatest of all commandments is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. It's to treat your neighbor. You note that. Note that. And in doing that, you truly develop a vertical relationship with the creator of the heavens and the universes. Because he looks down on you and he sees that you have a high respect for humanity. That you've been given dominion of, by the way. Now, your portion of dominion, how are you handling that? And this is the question that you need to ask yourself today. This is a question we need to ask ourselves. How are we handling our dominion that we've been given? Are we responsible with it? Are we protective of it, as someone earlier used these words? You see, think about this now. These are the kind of questions that we need to ask ourselves. We need to master the fundamentals. We need to master ourselves. What kind of master are you to yourself? Think about this now. This requires no texting in keyboard warrior type stuff. But this requires internalizing your situation and where you are. Your character meter. Where you are. Well, they did this wrong to me, Rabbi. They did all of this wrong and wronged me this way, that way, and the other way. Well, so what? So how are you going to deal with that? When all you see around you is people wronging you. Do you join the wrong bandwagon and hop on the wrong train? And, oh, yeah, well, you wrong me, I'm going to wrong you, and I'm going to wrong you severely. I'm going to wrong you even worse. You done took me to my pistivity meter, and now I'm pissed off. And now I'm just going to even wrong you and wrong you and wrong you. No, you see, you haven't learned to master the fundamentals yet. Because you're still dwelling on the negativity when it comes to your character traits. You're not trying to show loving kindness, compassion. Just because somebody can't give out compassion, that don't mean you don't give it out. Oh, Rabbi, they didn't give it to me, so why should I give it to them? They don't deserve it. Oh, now you're judge and jury now. Now you make yourself the judge and the jury. Now you're going to condemn people to hell. Now I guess that's the next step, right? Yes, because they literally run around and said, oh, you go to hell. You go to hell. I'm like, my goodness. You see, these are certain types of people that truly don't love themselves, or really don't know themselves, or truly just hate themselves. There's a lot of people walking this earth that just don't like themselves, and they demonstrate it, and it's brought out. It's brought out in what they say and how they carry themselves. You just sit back and become students of nature. You witness this before your very eyes. And then there are those people with this kind of demeanor. I tell you, I watched this interview that was done by this newscaster or whatever, but they were interviewing Reba McEntire. How many of you know Reba McEntire? She's a big-time country singer. Anybody know of Reba? Anybody know of a Reba McEntire? Oh, she's very successful. She's put out song after song after song after country song. Very, very, very Emmys and won all these Grammys and blah, 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 blah. Very, you would call, fulfilled woman in her life. And so they were interviewing Reba McEntire. And I don't listen to country music. I'm from Texas, and believe me, it's all around me here in Texas because ain't nothing here but cowboys and cowboys and horses. Not too many Indians left here. But so these cowboys love their country music. So I was listening to this interview with Reba McEntire, and she said this. She said, do you want to know the key to success? And in her country twang, because she talked real, she got the country slang, country twang. She said, you want to know the key to success? She says it's these three things. She says you have to have, and she said, this is what I use in my life. She said you have to have a funny bone, a backbone, and a wishbone. Write that down. Because there is a lot of wisdom in what this woman said. She said you have to have a funny bone, a backbone, and a wishbone. The wise will understand that. She said that is the key to a successful life. You know what she also said? She said, I wake up every morning. She said, because the woman was asking, well, what is your religion? She said, I'm not too keen on religion. But she said, I serve somebody greater than me. And she said, you know what? She said, some religions, they pray 5 times a day. She said, you know what she said? She said, I do that before I get out of bed in the morning. She said that. And she said, I wake up in the morning, and she said, wow, She said, I thank God for this house that He's given me. She said, I thank the Creator for waking me up in the morning. She said, I thank God for allowing me to stay in this wonderful house. She said, I thank God that I can do what I love. And I'm like, wow, what a grounded woman. And this is a successful woman now. You see, many of you, you should all want success. Right? How many of you in this room want success? Now, success comes in many forms. Success could just be, well, Rabbi, I just want some peace in my life. That's success. Well, Rabbi, I just want happiness in my life. That's all of you in this room. You should be wanting like crazy. I guess you hadn't got to that point the way you want success. You don't want to be successful. I understand that, but you need to get to the point. Now, Virgo said, I want a happy marriage. That's success. I want health. That's success. I want healthy children. That's success. Learn from Reba McEntire. You want to be successful? You need to have a funny bone, a wishbone, and a backbone. Wow. Heavy stuff. Shabbat shalom to you, HaKohim. That's heavy stuff right there. Think about that for a minute. Think about that for a minute. Those are words you can truly live by. Wish. What do you wish for? A lot of you don't even wish for nothing. You don't have a wishbone. Oh, Rabbi, I broke that wishbone a long time ago. And you wonder why you're not successful. Funny bone. Oh, Rabbi, I take life too seriously. Well, guess what? Life will take you seriously as well. Because remember, what you give out is what you're going to get. What are you giving out? Oh, Rabbi, I just thought they was talking about money. Oh, it's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. It's a lot deeper than that, Mishpahah. There's many songs that are written about love. Love don't cost a thing. You see? Showing compassion, that doesn't cost a thing. When you're talking monetary dollars, see, but a lot of folks are not willing to make the sacrifice. Just like we see with Yehudah here. He's willing to sacrifice himself. Look, I'm going to put myself in my brother's stead. Oh, did not he learn his lesson quick? From the last debacle that they made with Joseph. Oh, no, not again. It's not going to happen this way again. Yet, for some of us, we play the same old 45 and LP record over and over and over again. Over and over and over again. It's like we don't learn our lesson. Because we're still falling down the same rabbit hole. Yah forbid. I'm not willing to do that because, listen, we've been put on this earth. It's built into our covenants for us to be successful. I don't know about you, but I read that in my covenants. It's for me to be successful. Successful, Mishpahah. All of you should be desiring that. What happened to your wishbone? Much less the funny bone. And then let's not talking about having a backbone. You see, because when you have a backbone, that's going to require you to do things that are like outside of the norm. And not many people are willing to do that. You're not willing to keep learning and keep growing. You just want to play that same old record. How many of you ever owned an LP? Or some of you maybe still have it today. And how many of you right now own a turntable? You have a turntable in your house, and you can say, Rabbi, you come to my house right now, I can play you an LP. I can play you a record right now. I'm not talking about a CD. I'm talking about an LP. Anybody? Nobody? Anybody owns an LP? Or a record? Like maybe you have one of old Michael Jackson record albums. Anybody? Wow. See how far we have gone? You can, here in San Antonio, we still have record shops. You can go in a record shop and actually get a record. Yeah, old tech. I'm telling you, and play that record. So maybe you don't understand what I'm saying when I say play a record. So it's just like a record spins on the turntable and it just keeps going round and round and round and round. And it plays the same song or the same songs. It doesn't change. They won't all of a sudden play one of the newer songs because it's only built into that record to play the certain songs that are printed out on that album cover. And by the way, guess what? Record shops are coming back. LPs are coming back. Turntables are actually making a comeback now, by the way. I can remember my father telling me this a long time ago. How many of you are familiar with the bell bottoms? Anybody ever owned some bell bottom pants? You know, the pants at the bottom of the leg and looks like bells because they were so wide. I was like, man, what's the purpose of these pants? But that was the thing. My father, he owned many of these bell bottoms. And I said, Pop, you need to throw those bell bottoms away. He said, son. He said, you know why I'm keeping these bell bottoms? He said, because everything in history will repeat itself. You'll see it. Everything in history will repeat itself. How many of you know something about some corduroy pants? I remember back in the day, I had about three shades of corduroy pants, baby. Oh, yeah. I used to like my corduroy pants, especially in the wintertime. Man, I'm telling you, have some cool pants, some corduroys. You familiar with them corduroy pants? I tell you what. So my father used to tell me, nope, you hang on to these pants, son, because I'm telling you, one day these pants will come right back in style. And sure enough, they did. They came right back in style. The bell-bottom pants. I was like, wow, my dad was right. Father knows best. Corduroy pants come right back in style. So when you begin to, look at playing that same old record, sometimes we need to change. You need to make a change. This is why some of you can't get on with success in however way you see it. You must develop a backbone so you can change. You see, because willing to change requires you having a backbone. I said, no, I'm going to sacrifice. Whatever it is you have to sacrifice to get to whatever destination, whatever success point that you want. And I appreciate some of your success points. For those of you who are listening via YouTube and will listen to the lecture later, some folks said success with health, having healthy children, success in their relationships with marriage. Success comes in many forms. All of you should want to be successful. So I'm actually surprised when I said who wants to be successful, and only a few people put up some ones. You should have been one-ended across the board. Success should be a part of your makeup. And if it's not, then you need to grow a backbone. And don't just go through life rote. We're a blessed people. What does that mean to you? Can we change bless and put in today's time successful people? You are successful people. Baruch Hashem, Master Jesus of Nazareth. Absolutely. You see, because I believe the word blessed has been used so much, it's been watered down the way you don't understand what blessed really means. And most people only associate blessed with, okay, you have to have a lot of money. Blessed is associated with prosperity. Not that it's like there's nothing wrong with having a lot of money. Because, yeah, that is a facet of a blessing, just to have money. But I tell you what, I'd rather have a double portion of peace, of shalom, peace of mind, peace of self. I'd rather have a triple portion of happiness, to be happy. Someone stated that earlier when I was asking about success. Yes, I want to be happy. Well, that's success. That's being successful. We must stick with the basics. All of you want great wisdom, great understanding. Then you must master the fundamentals of life. And that requires you mastering yourself and coming into an understanding of, okay, well, what do I really want with myself? You get here on YouTube and many people want to overstand. No, I'm trying to understand myself. I'm trying to get into myself and see what myself likes. At this point, you must become selfish. Learn yourself. Yes, you must always have the servant mentality, servant attitude. But at the same time, you must be a master. because you must master the basics as a servant. So that may, for some of you, require you to make a lot of sacrifice in your life. Just like Yahudah did. He realized his mistake from the first time. And my goodness, come on, he was a human being just like you and I. He put his underoos on just like I do. And I'm pretty sure a day did not go by that he didn't think about how he wronged his brother Yosef. How he wronged him and his brothers in tandem. How they wronged their brother Yosef. Ah, that was totally wrong what we did. But now, the opportunity arises for him to go down the same rabbit hole, or to what? Have a backbone like Reba talked about. Have a backbone. And say, you know what? No, not this time. You're not taking Benjamin. You're going to take me instead. And I'm drawing the line. You see, a lot of you need to draw that line. You need to draw that line. Some of you, I'm going to equate this because I'm in Texas. You're talking about Western country down here. I'm in Texas, man. And it reminds me of those old shootout at the gunfight at the OK Corral. And you sit there, you have to draw a line. Some of you, you're going to have to draw your gun. You're going to have to be quick draw McGraw. And you're going to have to draw. Some of you, you just got your guns holstered. I'm not saying, Rabbi saying go out and shoot somebody. No. I'm saying that you need to draw your gun and fire. Some of you, you had the guns. Remember we talked about you equipped with the tools. You have all the necessary tools at your disposal, but they just sitting in the holster. You never draw. And so if you at the OK Corral and your opponent, you're staring at your opponent, and most of the time your opponent is your own self. Most of your battles are with your own self. Because you're learning to what? Master self. Many folks out here trying to master what? Everything else but self. You're trying to master mama. You're trying to master pop. You're trying to master your brothers and your sisters. Trying to master your wife. Now you haven't even mastered yourself. You're supposed to be servant to all these people. But you're too busy trying to master them. You see, you have the formula. You have the laws all discombobulated. They're just all out of whack. And you wonder why you're not successful. You must grow that backbone. I'm so grateful for Reba and giving her testimony and giving her insight on, look, this is what required. Now, this woman, she also had a lot of adversity in her life. Hey, she made a lot of mistakes. She been the first to tell you. She said it. She said, I'm the first to tell you, I'm not no saint. She said, and then she equated that, after that, she said, well, yeah, because I like to have a drink every now and then. Who said there's anything wrong with drinking? That's what I was asking. That would be my question. There's nothing wrong with drinking. But she said, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not no saint. But you know what she said? But I am a good person. Wow. Do we not need more good people in the world, Mishpachah? And I hope all of you in this room, you aspire at least to be successful in being a good person. And that requires you doing what's right. And right, not by your own understanding, but learning these tools that we have in our history that's given to us in our rich history as Hebrews, as descendants of the Hebrews, as sons and daughters of Abraham. And yes, that's to be a servant, but that's also to what? You have to sacrifice. You're going to have to grow a backbone to sacrifice. Because how many of you know sacrifice is not easy? But it builds your character. How many of you in this room want a better character this day? You want to better your character. That's me. Every day I'm trying to better my character. I want to better my character every single day. I want that. I want to be the best Kefa I can be today. And then tomorrow, guess what? I want to be the best Kefa I can be the next day. And then it's the same. How can I improve? What do I need to do to better myself? To make me that good person. to where Gentiles look at me and say, oh, he's a good person. Nice guy. Very friendly. Always trying to make you laugh. Why? Because I want people to be happy. What was the other bone Reva said that you had to have? A funny bone. You see, you got to make people happy, especially during this time. My goodness. There's a lot of depressed folks running around here. Statistics here in the United States of America say that the holiday season is the highest time for people who commit to take their lives. Attempt suicide. Wow. But this is supposed to be Merry Christmas. It's supposed to be Happy New Year. You're supposed to be happy. You're supposed to be running around here bringing good cheer, good tidings. What happened? I can tell you part and parcel what's going on here is that their motivations are wrong. They don't remember the reason for the season. Why? It's because they're ringing up credit cards. The pressure of buying that particular gift that may be outside of their scope of finance. So just because they can't get that particular gift, oh, they get so depressed. Oh, because they can't own up. And they feel the pressure when it's supposed to be a time of peace. So we must help the world see this. This is why you run around and, yeah, you tell folks Merry Christmas. Because they running around here bah humbug. They're looking like the Grinch and Ebenezer Scrooge. Show them some merriment. Make them happy. They're so caught up in the finance that they forget about the true reason for the season. And yes, commercialism has a lot to do with it. But truly, always put in the back of their minds, truly, don't forget why you're really having this Christmas. Don't forget what Christmas really means. Bring it back home to them because they need help. They need help getting back home. This is being a light to the nations. They must see that. And sometimes you must tell them. You remind them. Bring it back to their memory. Oh, remember why you celebrate this day. Remember why. Never forget what Christmas is really all about. About our Savior, our Lord. You tell them this. Well, how are you going to tell me that you're a Jew? And? Because I'm compassionate. I want to show loving kindness. Because why? I want that same thing back in return. And I have been getting it back in return. And I'm so grateful and I'm so happy and I'm so thankful to the Creator of the heavens and the universes that is coming back 100-fold. And it continues to do that. Why? It's because I continue to manifest those positive characteristics of servant to all, mastering my own, and sacrifice. Always willing to sacrifice. There's my time, my energy, sometimes your finances. You must be willing to sacrifice. Sacrifice a kind word. Is that difficult, Mishpah? That doesn't cost anything. Sacrifice a conversation. Well, Rabbi, I don't feel like talking to nobody right now. Oh my goodness, what is that? I just don't feel like it, Rabbi. Why are you always so happy? Why be sad? You see, let's put things in perspective. Truly, mastering the fundamentals is very simple. But many people don't want to do it. They don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear it. It's so simple and it's just too easy. No, they want difficult so they can what? Reject the difficult. Oh, no. Oh, that's too hard, so that's why I didn't do it. The burden of the Torah is so light. Why do we make it so heavy? To take the yoke of the Torah upon you. Mishpah, if you're here, you're here not by happenstance. You're here because you needed to hear this today, to help you on your way, to help you in your journey. And I truly hope this helps you in your journey. To help you be a better person. Just like Reba McEntire said, to be a good person. What a testament, what a witness. Somebody could say that about you. Oh, he's a good person. What a great man. What a kind-hearted man. What an awesome woman. What a loving woman she is. Is that said about you like that? Think about these things going forward. Learn from Yahudah. Yahudah said, I'm willing to sacrifice myself for the sake of my brother. I'm willing to sacrifice. Take me instead. Yahudah grew a backbone. He needed to. He grew a backbone. He grew a backbone. How many of you in this room are listening via YouTube? You need to grow a backbone. You need to draw from your guns, from your weapons, from your tools. Draw from them. Use them. Utilize them. Come on, Mishpachah. Let's not sit here playing games. This is a real life that you've been given. And so many people have life snuffed out before their very eyes to where they never receive revelation or get the experience or get to the wisdom part of life. I tell you, I aspire to live a wise life, a full life in my surroundings. Because I affect my surroundings. As all of you know, you affect your surroundings. You affect them in a positive way or you affecting them in a negative way. The sons of Jacob, they affected their surroundings big time. But what came to me for the title of my lecture was, The Mistake is the Miracle. Think about it. The mistake is the miracle. But again, here's the caveat though. With the right character traits. The mistake is the miracle. But too many times we only focus on the mistake. That we can't see the miracle. You see? Yes, we have all made mistakes. But in those mistakes comes the miracle. Some of you are not willing to wait on it. Some of you don't even see the miracle. Some of you not even anticipate the miracle because you're so focused on the mistake. You can't get to the miracle. I would encourage you this day to really, look back and maybe do some meditation on your life. And go back and really, do the playback on your VCR. Play it back. Rewind. And you go back and look at the mistakes that you made and then assess. And I bet you, I can guarantee you, you can see the miracle in your mistake. But today, we too focused on the mistake. Oh, I did this wrong, Rabbi, I did that, blah, 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 and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. I'm asking you today, where did the miracle come in? Do you see the miracle in it? Mistake is just another opportunity for you to gain experience. Wow. Don't allow yourself. You see, you've been conditioned for so many years with so much negativity. All of that stuff is not going to dissipate overnight. It's going to require time. But you need to move out all that negativity. You need to replace it with the positive characteristics of servitude, of a master of a servant to yourself and to others. You must master the fundamentals. You must be willing to sacrifice. You must grow that backbone along with the funny bone. That's important. And then couple that with the wishbone, and that's the trifecta. Because all of you, I know you all have wishes. You all have desires. You all have dreams. You all want to, where you are today, you see yourself somewhere else tomorrow and the next day and a year from now. You don't want to be at the same place where you are today. I'm pretty sure you don't want to do that. I know that. And if you don't, then you need to start, putting a task at hand for yourself to get somewhere and go and make some desires for yourself. But that requires you spending time with yourself to really realize, what do you want in life? What do you want out of this abundance of a life? What do you want to do? What do you want to be? How do you want to be pleasing? How can I be of service to humanity? For the good of humanity. For the good of humanity. Andrew Carnegie left his wealth here for the good of humanity. And many people are beneficiaries off of Andrew Carnegie's wealth, even to this day, for the good of humanity. What are you trying to do for the good of humanity? Think about it. Some can't even hold a conversation with somebody else without getting negative. Some is afraid. Oh, I'm afraid, Rabbi, to even go talk to a stranger. Really? You'd be surprised. Then you need to grow that what? You need to grow your backbone. You need to grow your backbone. Like I stated earlier, in today's time, they call it, killing them with kindness. But if you note the whole scenario with Joseph and his brother and with Yehudah, Yehudah just came to him with all of those positive attributes, those positive characteristics and character traits. Selfless service. I'm going to just sacrifice myself and be your servant. To the point, and it got to a boiling point to where Joseph just couldn't hold it up anymore. He had to tell his brothers who he really was. I'm your brother. And at the same time, you take this story in our history and you can apply it in 2018. Take it and move it forward. All of these people that may hold some kind of resentment, or it can only hold up so long if you begin to use the weapons, the tools that are in your arsenal. You begin to keep showing them kindness, keep showing them love. Even though they hate your guts, believe me, the tide will turn. And those same people that hate you will begin to love you. Why? It's because you're giving out love. You're giving out compassion. You're showing loving kindness. I'm telling you, it will bust through and break those barriers. Some of you have already seen it in your life. You're a witness to this. Very same thing that I'm talking about. Because truly, love does conquer all. But you got to have a backbone, baby. That's going to require you to have a backbone. For you to love somebody that don't love you, for you to like somebody and to show compassion and to be kind to somebody that just, cursed you down, spoke against your mama, told you not nothing, you never going to be nothing, hates you because of the color of your skin, and they'll tell you to their face. That requires backbone, baby. Back to the bone. But just use your funny bone and laugh it all off. And continue to, what do they say, LOL? Laugh out loud. You laugh it off and you continue to show those positive attributes. You may think, well, Rabbi, maybe that would be eventually they would begin to take my kindness for a weakness. No, because your kindness is what makes you strong. They may see it as a weakness, but it's actually tearing them down to where they'll actually become kind to you. You see? They'll begin to show you kindness in return. But you cannot get what you don't give out, Mishpahah. How many of you have learned that? You cannot get what you don't give out. Yeah, that's the law. That is the law. Well, I want peace, Rabbi. Then give out peace. Oh, but there's no way I can talk to so-and-so because so-and-so did me wrong and I'm still waiting on so-and-so to apologize. What is that? Then you're going to be still waiting on peace. You're going to still be waiting on it. Well, Rabbi, I want someone to love me. Well, then you need to give out love. Oh, well, how am I love that person? That person took all my material wealth. And I'm supposed to love them? That person lied and cheated me up and down the block, but I'm supposed to love them? Yes, you must grow that backbone. That person wronged me up and down the block. Yeah, you must grow that backbone. And I'm going to tell you, it may not happen in 2 days and 2 hours, but I tell you what, over time, these same individuals that hate you will turn around and love you, respect you, have a high respect for you. Why? It's because you're literally killing them with the very weapons. You're using the very weapons against them. You see, for every action, there's what? A counter reaction. There's a reaction for every action. So my desire, my prayer is that your reaction is a positive one. No, your action is a positive one and your reaction is a positive one. Because sometimes the action that you get from others is not positive. So then you must do what? You must react. But how are you going to react? You should be reacting with a positive one as well. Regardless if they bring the negative train into town. So what? Let them be negative. But you are the weapon, the teaching tool that can really help them along their way. Learn from Yahudah. You can learn from him. Learn from his speech here. You can really learn from it and begin to apply it. A life of servitude, a life of sacrifice, but at the same time, mastering the characteristics that he described there for yourselves. You become a master of the basics. The basic characteristics that you need. And just keep getting better at them. Rinse and repeat. This is rinse and repeat. Just keep getting better. Torah 1:3 says, I have experienced that. My business partner had tried to stab me in the back many times in business, but when I turned it around, now I am her best friend. You see? There it goes. What are you going to try to do? Stab the business partner in the back as well? You're going to have two people with knives in their back. That's not going to be good. The business can't prosper like that when both are injured with spinal injuries. No, let one have the knife in his back, and then one day that same person that put the knife in your back will take it out for you. Wow. Imagine that. And that can happen. It can happen. But you must grow the backbone, and it will. You must grow the backbone and lift yourself higher than that. What does Michelle Obama say in her book that she just came out? When they go low, she goes what? What does she say? She say, when they go low, I go high. Wow. Think about that for a minute. She said, when they go low, I just go high. Not when they go low, we both get low and we both doing the lumber. No, when they go low, I go high. That's Reba's backbone. Got to have a backbone, wishbone, and a funny bone. You have those three bones and you'll be a successful person. You'll be very successful. Yahudah, Judah, he grew a wishbone. No, he wished, and a backbone. He truly grew a backbone for sure. But he was wishing, I'm sure he was wishing, look, please don't make me have to give up. I can't give up. I cannot. I made an oath to my father. I can't give up my brother. I'm just not going to do it. Come Shiloh or Sheol. It's not happening. I wish that you would take me instead. Sacrifice. You cannot have success without sacrifice. And I tell you, just the way Yahudah spoke to the viceroy, to Joseph, his brother, it broke Joseph down. Joseph couldn't hold up the smoke screen anymore. Many people are coming to you with smoke screens. How do you break those smoke screens down? To where you're just dealing with a human being that respects you as another human being. When they go low, you just continue to go high. And you do yourself a great service, Mishpachah. A great service indeed. Learn from Yahudah. Learn from Genesis here, Genesis chapter 44. Learn. His words are just profound. You can use his same words, the same makeup of his words of just, look, I'm a servant. I'll be your servant. Servitude, 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 servitude. And sacrifice. What a formula. We can sit here and talk about this all day, but what a formula. You must grow that backbone. That sacrifice to me is growing a backbone. And just saying whatever. Come Shiloh or Sheol, I'm gonna have peace. Come Shiloh or Sheol, I'm gonna have that wife. Come Shiloh or Sheol, I'm gonna have that husband. Come Shiloh or Sheol, I'm gonna have that successful business for myself. So I'm gonna grow the back, and I'm gonna do whatever's necessary to do that. Whatever's necessary. If it means I must swallow my pride, then I'm swallowing my pride. If it means that I must be more humble, then I'm going to be more humble. If it means I must show more compassion, then I'm going to show more compassion. If it means that I must communicate, then I'm going to communicate. I'm going to be the great communicator. Wow. To me, Moshe was the greatest communicator that ever walked the face of this earth. He knew how to communicate. Not only with, parallel, but he had a great way to communicate vertically. The great communicator. Invoke some of that off of Moses. I'm pretty sure he can give you some scraps. Invoke some of that to be a great communicator. Greatness, Mishpachah. Aspire and desire it. You may not be the greatest, but you'll get greater than you were yesterday. And I'm going to close, but I'm going to close with this. I'm going to close with Reba, back to Reba's formula for success. Reba McEntire, the great country singer. What is it, Mishpachah? You should all be able to tell me now. Her keys to success are what? That you must grow a wishbone, a funny bone, and a backbone. Wow. Take that and run with it. You'll do yourself a great service. Thus, giving esteem to the creator of the heavens and the universes, and truly being a disciple of the Master Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, in your lives. So take it and go forward, Mishpachah. Stick with the basics to master them. Master the basics. You know, mastery takes a long time. So just stay in it. And you'll win in the end. But you got to stay in it. Don't give up. Don't quit. Don't be a quitter. You'll do yourself a great service. Thus, doing everyone in your circle of influence a great service as well. Rabbi Yosef Hilton is saying, Chief Rebi, how does a brother or a sister love another sister? The one responsibility for killing a parent for the material gains and still trying to take the other sibling's life to gain all the family's wealth left for the children. You love them. You love them by leaving them. Bible teacher, shalom to you. Shabbat shalom to you. Or shalom to you wherever you're in the world. Could be, your Shabbat could be over with. But yeah, Rabbi Yosef Hilton, that requires you cannot change a person's actions. You can only control your actions or your reaction towards that individual. You see, because the individual is looking for an action or a reaction in you, right? How many of you know this? Is that angry people in the world, they only want you to be angry. So they'll throw out an action to make you angry. And that action can be in the form of just a word that is supposed to move your festivity meter, but never does. It's because you don't go there. You see, I had ex-wives that would do this, is that they knew how to prey on your weaknesses. How many of you know what I'm talking about? They knew how to hit that festivity button. They knew the words to say. They knew the actions to do that would hit that festivity button, you see. And so they're waiting on you to bring that, whatever, if it's the action, they're waiting for that reaction. And when it doesn't occur, sometimes they even get madder because you don't do what they profiled you out to do. Oh, you're supposed to respond like this. Normally you always do this. Well, my ex-husband, I would say this and he would do that. Well, I'm not your ex-husband. And I live in a life of peace, a shalom. Shalom is not just a word to me. It's a lifestyle. I live in shalom. Oh, Rabbi, your house is burning down. Oh, Baruch Hashem. I'm going to live in peace because another house is coming. So what? Big deal. You must make shalom not just a word, but a way it must become a part of you. That's when it becomes real. You see, like I said earlier in past lectures, when Torah becomes real. You see, this is when Torah really becomes real. When Torah's reality to your real life. And you incorporate Torah in your real life. Not fictitious, not the by and by. We're talking about the now and now. You see? And so you just explain it away like this. You know, this is the balance of the scales of life. The laws of life. You're going to have good in the world and you're going to have bad. That's the balance you have. There must be. Just like Rabbi Yosef Hilton, you're a good man, a good person. Well, guess what? Then there has to be that opposite side of the scale to really test your meter of goodness. Baruch Hashem. Remember, the mistake is the miracle. You see where we're going with that? The mistake is the miracle. The miracle's in the mistake. Many don't see that. You see, these kind of individuals are placed in our life to what? Assess our meters and to really assess where we are. On the positive side of the scale, because we live in a world of positivity. Regardless of what's happening in our lives, all hell could be breaking loose. Just like Rabbi Benia says, when you go through hell, you just keep walking. Torah 1 Free says, we had a business lunch at a restaurant that needed reservations. We had no reservations, but yet we got in and had a great lunch. She asked me, how do you do that? I smiled and said, I will teach you someday. I give all praises to Abba Yah. Baruch Hashem, Torah free. Torah 1 free. When Torah becomes real to you. You see, Torah 1 free really understood that. The principle of favor and truly having favor. We're favored people. If you're in the Torah, you're favored. Favored people. Baruch Hashem. You're going to have favor in all areas of your life. And Baruch Hashem. And I'm so happy and humbled, Torah 1 free, that you recognize that. You see? Because most people looking at the mistake. Oh, we forgot to make reservations. But you don't see the miracle that you got in there anyway. You see? Rabbi Yosef Hilton saying, yes, Chief Kefa, this is happening to someone close to me, and for over a year she has said nothing. All in the family are surprised she doesn't respond in the way that they want it. Silence forever for over 1 year. That's awesome. What a great lesson there in that, Rabbi Yosef Hilton. That's just awesome. Awesome. And that's the way you need to be. You see, because our battles are not won and fought by ourselves. We have someone more powerful fighting our battles for us. Don't worry. Somebody has your back. Creator of the heavens and the universes. The God of Israel, He's got your back, Israel. He's got your back. Believe me, if we're in exile, then guess where the God of Israel is at? He's with us in exile as well. He's not confined to, the Holy Land and to the demolished temples. No, it's not. It's with us in the exile. It will always be with us. No worries. So we just must continue to be those disciples of the Master Yeshua, the Master Jesus of Nazareth, and live our lives appropriately for good, for the goodness, and do what's right. And this is where you'll learn to do what's right here. Believe me, you will. Believe me, you will. But it's the development and the nurturing of those character traits that are needed and warranted for you to even have any kind of clue of how Torah can become real. You see? That's what's important, and that's what we need to hone in on, is that we need to master these things. Don't look to go on. Oh, well, I read this section, then I can move on. No, you need to stay put. Sit down for a while. Get cozy. Make yourself comfortable, and stay put at mastering, the fundamentals, the basics. Master the basics here. You want to become masters as servants to all. Master humility. Master long-suffering. Master compassion. Master love. These are things that we need to look at. Master positive relationships. Even though the other side may not see it as positive, so be it. But at least on your end, you can go all in positive. And you'll serve yourself very well, Mishpahah. See, these are life lessons. Torah is about life. Torah is life. So we must learn the life lessons so that we can live a fullness of a life. Some of our lives are just shells of themselves now, but we're growing and we're learning, because just like I learned, when the student is ready, the teacher will come. You think about that one. That's so true. When the student is ready, then the teacher will come. So we must prepare. So what happens? When the servant is ready, then the master will come. We must make ourselves ready as servants. And we've been talking about that this Shabbat. We must make ourselves ready. We must make ourselves ready. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to turn it over to the Kohen, son of Aaron, and we'll continue to press on. You're not here by happenstance. If you're here, you're here to get some meat and potatoes on how do I live my life, and what do I need to be doing on this earth, and why I was put here. You were put here for a great reason, to do great things and to lift up the name and to give esteem to the Creator of the heavens and the universes through everything that you do. Parallel. So Shabbat Shalom to all of you, Mishpah. You all have a wonderful Shabbat. I'm going to turn it over to the Kohen, and we'll keep it moving forward, okay? All right. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Mishpah. Yeah, Todah for that, Rabbi Kefa. This is Rabbi Simon from Pensacola, Florida. Okay, hopefully everybody's getting me. Right. I think we have the Parsha today, which is Parsha's Vayigash. Let's just go back at that a little bit and have a quick peruse. Parsha's Vayigash, yeah, that will be Genesis chapters 44 verses 18, where it starts with Judah. Then Yehudah came near to him and said, "O my master, please let your servant speak a word in my master's hearing, and do not let your anger burn against your servant, for you are even like Pharaoh." Okay, so before we do that, I just wanted to give you a quick little joke. This is about a young couple who invited their elderly pastor for Sunday dinner, and while they were in the kitchen preparing the meal, the minister asked their son, what were they having? "Goat," the little boy replied. "Goat?" replied the startled man of the cloth. "Are you sure about that?" "Yep," said the youngster. "I heard Dad said to Mom, today is just as good as any to have the old goat for dinner." So with that, we'll move forward. Words can have connotations, as you can see from that joke, and words can have different meanings in different languages. But words could be said in different ways that can actually have total different meanings. In other words, you could hear one word or a sentence from one person meaning one thing, and it could mean actually totally another. In other words, we could misread, we could mishear. Therefore, a lot of things could happen. But I tell you what, yesterday I heard a little bit as I was, I think I was going somewhere. Yeah, I was probably going to the Walmart, and I heard this little testimony, if you want to call it a testimony. I saw it on the news as well a little bit yesterday. Mr. Cohen, the lawyer for President Trump, was giving a testimony. I'm pretty sure you probably heard it about 15 times on the news, put on CNN, and that's probably what they're talking about. And here Mr. Cohen was speaking about that, he was apologizing to people of America, and he squarely pointed his fingers to Mr. President, saying that it was his fault, that, I was loyal to him and I did this because of loyalty, and I want to now just be loyal to the country and to my wife and children, etc. How many of you heard that speech? Anybody in this room heard that speech? Or was I the only one hearing that speech? Obviously, you do not follow the president's things closely. Okay, so one person heard, a couple of people heard it at least. All right. So now that you heard it from me, I gave you a little summary. I mean, it wasn't in exact words. So I'm giving you a little summary of it, what actually was said and what actually was done. And so I want an input from you people. What do you think? What did you think about it? Of what the events that took place? You know, how everything happened in the last, I don't know, since 2015, let's say. Now, of course, you know, Mr. Cohen is a respected lawyer, very high up lawyer, not just anybody. So what is, you know, just put a little text in if you want, don't type too much. What would you, as people, say to that? Would you say, you know, that, yeah, okay, thank you for your input, Eddie. He's saying it's hard to know what to believe because so much politics is being played. Shabbat Shalom to you, Simcha. Yemisia saying he's a mouthpiece. Jacob is saying that I agree with Eddie. And Eddie saying maybe he's trying to protect his family, being pressured to blame Trump. Okay, I think that's very, very, and Adelia saying he shouldn't be arrested. Okay, very, very important comments there. I think Eddie, you know, really you hit it on the head. It's hard to know what to believe because so much politics is being played. You know what I said at the time when he was speaking? I kind of made a comment. It's kind of funny because I'll tell you why I made that comment. I'll tell you exactly why I made that comment as well. You know, in my career, I came across, because I was working for banks, financial institutions in England, and you know, mega corporations. I had to you know, deal with sometimes with you know, big people. I sat with big people, real big people, you know, people with worth, you know, money, you know, lots of money in their banks. And so, you see, in different areas of life, there are different professions. And I have a lot of respect for different, you know, some different professions. I have a lot of respect for them. Why? Because some professions are just, you know, hand-based, like a carpenter's profession, you know, it's hand-based. Plumber's profession is hand-based, you know, it's like you fit a toilet or you fit a bath, and, you know, there's no lying about it. I mean, you could lie about the rates, but as I found out in Florida, people lie and they try to overcharge you, but the professions themselves are fairly, you know, respectable professions, like the doctor's profession, fairly respectable. But the lawyer's profession, that is one that I have actually been very close to, you know, in both sides of the fence. Both lawyers from investment background, in other words, one who closed big billion-dollar deals, because I worked for a company doing that, and also I worked with 1,200 lawyers, by the way, and then also the lawyers that prosecute and you know, like in kind of Michael Cohen's situation where they might go and fight law and, you know, present cases and stuff. So when he said that, I just burst out laughing, and I said, Mr. Cohen, you know, you're a professional liar. That's all I can say for you. You're a professional liar, and you've got a degree to lie professionally. So you got to present a case that makes you look right, and now, you know, pointing fingers at the other side. But really the reality is this: in any such situation, whether it's Mr. Cohen, whether it's, you know, people high up the ladder, it's all at the end of the day, a handshake, believe it or not. You know, I mean, I have respect for the profession of chartered accountants, but nowadays, even the chartered accountant profession can be, you know, any profession can be misused, you know, to evade taxes, to make legal loopholes, etc. But then there are legal loopholes, so what can you say? So, yeah, Jacob, that's what I thought as well. I just burst out laughing, and I said, you know, Mr. Cohen, you're just a professional liar. Let's just admit it. You got a degree from a high college to do what exactly? the better you can lie, the more money you can make. Honestly, that is a sum total of what lawyers are in courts. The better liars, the best liars make the best money. That's really a sum total of it. And I tell you, I sat with these lawyers in my previous roles, and these people, right? You look on screen, and they are like, talking against each other like politicians. I sat in politicians too, and they sat and they talk against each other, and they say things. But you know what happens behind closed doors? They sit down, they shake hands, they share tea, they share coffee, they share dinners. That's really sum total of what we are seeing. What we are seeing on our screen is a real drama of sorts. And if you can understand it, if you can understand the drama, then you can understand it that Mr. Cohen hasn't changed. He's not changed for nobody. Mr. Cohen represents the almighty dollar. He doesn't represent almighty God, So he represents the almighty dollar. Well, that's really the reality. That's really the sum total of it. And of course, he wants to lessen his sentence or, not be in prison for what had happened, etc., etc. But let's just face it, he twisted the law, he turned it around and he tried to do whatever he was doing and he got caught out. So the best lawyers, it should be called professional liars, not professional lawyers, because when you go on billboards and you see all these law firms, I think they should say, we are professional liars and we'll do the best lies in town and we'll protect your case. In our world today, if you are a professional liar, then you make it good. You see, this is really the reality, because what is court? What is justice? Justice in our countries today is just a byword. People don't really operate on justice so much. It's who presents the best case. In other words, who makes the best case, best lies, wins the case. Really, that's the bottom of this whole thing, because I sat through some court cases, I heard some court cases, and you're allowed to go to courts, and sit through cases and listen. You will find that the best lawyers are the ones that present the lies the best. So the word shouldn't be lawyer, it should be liar. It's just a little twist. I was just kind of laughing about that. Rabbi Kefa saying the lawyers here in San Antonio have a bar where they all drink and dance together. My ex-wife and my lawyer are best friends. Oh my goodness. I can believe that. I can believe that indeed. And Jacob, formerly JB Israel, is saying that unfortunately the average American believes everything they see on TV and can't read between the lines. Yeah, that's absolutely true. So with that in mind, we got to really, when we look at screen, you see, a lot of people are like, for and against Mr. Trump, the president, and a lot of people are for and against Mr. Cohen. But you got to understand that we are dealing with professional people. So we're dealing with, people in office, we're dealing with people who are lawyers and all sorts of things going around. So, and this kind of brought me to my lecture today, which was regarding the electrocution or the prosecution of Joseph. Joseph was prosecuted by his brothers, and it brings me to two laws. Can anybody tell me the one law that would have affected Joseph, that would have been why he was where he was, in Egypt? Could anybody give a hint on that? Whilst I have a sip on my coffee. Beautiful coffee as well. With the ice on it, with the shrimp. Actually, sure. Okay, so Eddie's saying not to slander gossip. Okay, that could be one, absolutely. But anybody else? Idol worship. Okay. Any other takers? But don't forget that we're applying that to Joseph for his imprisonment, for the things that happened to Joseph. Gossip tell tales on his brothers boasting, right? Okay. And now don't forget, we are talking about from the angle where Joseph ended up in, these 10 to 12 years in prison, and then later became the prime minister, etc. So what I was saying is that what biblical law affected him? Of course, definitely, Eddie has given you a big clue. There was slander going on. There was gossip slander, because Joseph was going back and forth, getting information of his brothers, going back to his dad and being the nice little boy, nice little son, and telling his dad, hey dad, Judah was doing this, and I saw Shimon, hiding behind the bush and talking to the neighbor's daughter, things like that. So it was like, things going on. There's gossip. There's a lot of gossip. There's a lot of slander going on. But what actually law affected? See, but that's not a law. Slander and gossip is not a law. What law affected him? That's what my question was. What law of the Torah affected him? And I'm going to bring it to light. So the law that affected him was a law of cause and effect. Cause and effect, okay? That's the law that affected him. It is what you sow, what you will reap. In other words, that is called the law of cause and effect. So that's very important. We understand that. Laws of cause and effect. And the other law I want to talk about, which also affected the brothers. Remember, the brothers are now being affected. First it was Joseph. He ends up in Egypt. Now, I'm going to give you something practical. I'm not going to give you this wishy-washy spiritual meaning of this and spiritual meaning of that, because it doesn't really help us. You see, those things don't help us in real life. Yes, it's nice to know that, how spiritual somebody is, but it doesn't help you in your daily life. So laws of cause and effect are very important. So the law of cause and effect affected Joseph, but it also affected, but what was the law? We also know that the cause and effect affected the brothers. But what was the law that affected the brothers? Anybody hazard a guess on that? What law affected the 10 brothers? I'll let you guess that one as well, and I'll bring another law into the equation. I tell you, Torah is really meaningful. Torah can only be meaningful when we understand what the heck is talking about. What laws are we dealing with? Half the time we don't even know what laws we're dealing with. That's basically where lawyers come in. Okay, so let's talk about liars. Okay, so anybody for that? Okay, Adelia saying selfishness. For Adelia, selfishness is not a law. I mean a law, what is the law that we're dealing with in regard to the brothers? Okay, attempted murder and selling Joseph. Yeah, but attempted murder is not a law. What I'm saying, I'm not asking you to define the subject matter, like, yes, it was attempted murder, yes, it was hate, yes, it was selfishness. All of those are true. Not to sell your brothers to slaves, that's all true as well. But what law of the Bible are we speaking about? What law of God is it that affected the brothers? Well, okay, there was a very particular law that affected. Okay, again, jealousy is not a law, you see. We're talking about a law here. I'm sorry to put it in a like a lawyer's framework. I'm going to speak like a lawyer. All right, I'll give it to you. A good try. Reciprocity. Okay, not quite, but yeah, I mean, you could say that. Yes, that's close. Love your neighbor as yourself. Very, very close. That would be very close, Rabbi Kefa. Yep, that would be that law. Was part and parcel of it as well. But the second law that affected, let me give it to you. The second law that affected the brothers, which is very paramount, and I was kind of looking at this, and I was like, my goodness, people never talk about this, but this is what it is. It's the law of retaliation. What is the law of retaliation? That is what affected the brothers. Now, the brothers dealt with the law of cause and effect, and that was affecting, of course, Joseph. And Joseph, on the other hand, now had the law of retaliation in effect against his brothers. Why? Because, as you all put it correctly, the brothers tried to murder their brother, they tried to, reveal hate and all sorts of other things, etc. Now, I want you to get this. This is very important for you all to get and understand this. Law of cause and effect Write it down. Law of cause and effect and law of retaliation. These are two very important laws that we have that are part and parcel of not only our Torah, but the Master Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, spoke about these two particular laws a lot of the times. His whole, if you want to call it a ministry, his whole ministry was revolved around these two laws. Believe it or not. The whole thing. If you read the 4 Gospels, and you read the book of Revelation, prophetical books, you will see that the 4 Gospels reference these laws so many times as part of his daily living. They affect us as people as part of our daily living. And we find that, Matthew chapter 5, that's just one chapter, by the way. It's totally talking about these things. Totally. So, what do we understand from these? Well, let me bring you also to our half Torah portion, which we may not cover completely, but I'm going to speak about it in passing. Half Torah portion, with Ezekiel 37:15, and if you want to go read it later in your times, speaks about the 2 sticks, bringing the 2 sticks together. In other words, the stick of, the 12 tribes, Judah, Benjamin, and then the other tribe being Ephraim, bringing them together and join them as one stick. So we have that going on in the half Torah portion, where the prophet Ezekiel spoke about a time or in the future when this thing will occur, where the 2 sticks or the 12 tribes will be joined together. Now today I can tell you that a lot of rabbis that believe that all the 12 tribes are Israel already, and Christians too, well, between you and me, we know that is not true, because 90% of the tribes, even more than 90% of the tribes are still outside the land. That includes Judah. So, let's not even go there, but let's talk about, but that's prophecy, that's future, and that's things going on. But what about, how do these laws affect us? Now, we know that Joseph had dreams, and we know that Joseph spoke about his dreams to his family, to maybe his brothers, to his father, to his mother. So what do we learn from there? What we learn from there is that dreams should not be communicated with everybody. We learn that, number 1 point. You shouldn't go around telling your dreams to everybody. Maybe your dreams, if they are to be discussed, they only need to be discussed with, people close to you. Maybe you discuss it with your husband, wife. Maybe you discuss it with a very close friend, or maybe the only person you discuss it with is your rabbi, pastor, teacher, etc. Those are the only people that dreams should ever be discussed with, regards to a recurring dream. They should not be discussed with everybody, because your dreams could be things that are about to take place, near future or far future, and they shouldn't be discussed, because otherwise what happens is that you become a laughing stock in your friends, maybe in your family. And that's what happened with Joseph. Joseph became a laughing stock. Why? Because Joseph was ridiculed for his dreams. His dreams were not false. The dreams were true, but they hadn't yet happened. So everybody who heard the dreams was like, "What do you mean? You're going to be on top of me? You're going to be, my leader? How's that going to be possible? I'm your bigger brother. I'm your father. I'm your mother." See, that's what was going on. So what was the law? What was the law that would be, or the condition? What was a condition that was affecting the family? By the way, believe it or not, let me tell you the condition that was affecting Jacob's family. Pride. That was a condition. Because they were like, well, we are at such and such level, how can we be your servants? So pride and ego got in the way. Instead of saying, well, hang on son, instead of the dad saying, hang on son, maybe there is something in this, maybe God is trying to show us something. Could this be something that's going to happen in the future? Maybe today we need to act in a particular way to, have a better future. But what they do, they allow pride to come in the way. They say, well, you're younger, you're not old enough, you can't be my master, how can I be your slave and your servant? You see, that was pride. that occurred in Jacob's family. And if God is showing us that, then God is showing us that it could occur in our families as well. We need to be aware of these laws. Why? Because these laws affect us all, whether we agree with them or whether we don't agree with them. Whether we like God's law, whether we don't like God's law, laws operate irrespective. Laws will operate irrespective of who you are, or what you call yourself. You can call yourself Israelite, you can call yourself Jewish, you can call yourself Hebrew, you can call yourself Christian, you can call yourself whatever you like. The laws will affect you. The law of retaliation will affect you. The law of cause and effect will affect you. Question is this: how do we use these laws? Well, we need to come back to the Master Yeshua, and we remember that some of his words were, the laws of you might say, and a lot of Christians say this, and we'll come back to the Master Yeshua's words in a second, but what I wanted to clarify is that a lot of Christians, and I don't think most Christians, some Christians might say that the Old Testament, is old law, old covenant is done away and we are in the new covenant. What they forget is that these laws, doesn't matter, you can call it old covenant, you can call it dilapidated covenant, you can call it torn apart covenant, you can call it whatever name you want to give it. But one thing is certain, it remains. The covenant remains, and it will never be done away with whatever titles you give it, because people like to give it titles, and Marcion had a problem because Marcion gave it the title of the God of the Old Testament, hateful God, the God of the New Testament, loving God. You see, different people through different ages gave different titles to different things. This is why we have denominations today. This is why we have, different denominations, and so those denominations affect different people. Now today, Christianity, over 38,000 denominations, and Judaism, we have about 6-7 types of Judaisms, and then, you can now run through the religions of the world, and there's, tons and tons of religions of the world. So, my point is this, that in every religion, you will have some part of our Torah in it, believe it or not. Some part of our Torah will appear in some other religious base. Now, those of you who know that the Islamic faith operates a lot on the law of retaliation. They don't really work on the law of love. There's a law of love. Their faith is not based on the law of love. Their faith is based on the law of retaliation. In other words, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth is another word for a law of retaliation. Now, you might think, and you might be forgiven for thinking, that the law of retaliation was given to the Jews or given to Israel in the Bible in the Old Testament. You might be forgiven for thinking that, because that would be the ignorant, that would be the most ignorant thing that people believe. And believe me, a lot of people believe that. People are so ignorant about our scriptures, about our scrolls, writings, that they believe that that was given in the Old Testament to Israel, to Jews. So they operate on that. Yet, when we go and we read Leviticus 24:19, and it says, or Leviticus 20, it talks about a man causing a blemish to his neighbor, as he has done to himself, it will be done to him. Cause and effect, okay? That's cause and effect right there, 24:19. If man causes a blemish to his neighbor, it will be done to him. Law of retaliation. Breach for breach, eye for eye, tooth for tooth. As he caused a blemish in a man's social. So this is like almost law of retaliation mentioned verbatim, and the law of cause and effect, both intertwined. Now, God wasn't saying, see, here's a misunderstanding. If you go open up Leviticus 24:19 in any of Bibles, whichever Bible you carry, and you will find out that part and parcel of the problem is that God wasn't declaring some, new truth to Israel because Israel wasn't aware of it. That wasn't the case. But a lot of Christianity, a lot of later people took that to be some old truth that is now done away with. Now we're going to bring some new truth. So, But the reality is this, that by the way, is definitely not what God was declaring. So, what was God declaring? I think that's also pertinent to ask. What was God declaring in Leviticus 24:19? If a man causes a blemish in his neighbor, as he has done, so shall it be done to him. Breach for breach, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, as he has caused a blemish in a man, so shall be done to him. All God was doing was stating a universal law. So the priests who were writing this, and Moses, who was, of course, penning the original copy of the Torah, and then later being, written by the priests and the Kohanim who were speaking about it, was all it was being stated was this is a universal law. That's it. There was no more, there was no less. In other words, be aware that this is a universal statement that in most men, and of course that goes for women as well, because man and woman from the same creation, created in the image of God. So what is being discussed is a law of retaliation in effect in people. This is why, your brother does something to you and you do something back. Or your neighbor does something to you, you do something back. Or, for instance, your, some man out there, he lifts his finger up and then you do the same kind of thing. Law of retaliation. The other day I was driving down and, I was kind of turning on this road, and there was this one guy in his car, and he was lifting his finger up to the driver behind. And I looked at him and I just laughed, and I thought, you see, there you have it, right on the road rage, so to speak, but in the mild form, where they didn't come out and start fighting with each other. They just lifted his finger up, his middle finger, and showed the other person and left. And I was like, why do people do that? Maybe the other driver was so close to him, and he was being slow turning or whatever, and so, he didn't like it, and so he did that. This is particularly part and parcel of what's happening in our world. And you will probably notice that on the roads, you will notice it maybe in your job, maybe you'll notice it outside when you're walking on the footpath, is that law of cause and effect is all around us. It's all around us. The law of retaliation is all around us. How do we operate? You see, so here, we go to the words of Jesus of Nazareth, Yeshua ben Joseph, or Yeshua ben David, or Yeshua ben Yahweh, whichever you want to say it. So we say here, it says, but I say to you, this is Matthew 5:44. We'll go to 43 first. You have heard that it has been said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and petition for them which carry ye away by force and persecute ye, that you may be the children of your Abba which is in the Shemaim, for he makes his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and he sends rain on the just and on the unjust. But for if you love them which love you, or ye, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brothers only, what do you do more than others? Do not even the tax collectors do this? But you therefore set apart, even as your Abba, which is in the Shemaim, which is in the heavens, is set apart. So, be you holy, just as your Abba is holy. Okay, see, these statements, a lot of the times, are spiritualized. And when they are spiritualized, then you lose the whole meaning of them. To be honest, frankly, you can go sit in any synagogue and listen to these, or any church. When these statements are spiritualized, they lose their entire meaning. They have no further meaning left. And this is the problem with religion today, is that most religions, they like to spiritualize God's word. Whatever they call God's word, to the Muslims is the Quran, to the Hindus is the Bhagavad Gita, and to the others, it's Christians is the Bible, and Jews is the Torah, the prophets. Whichever religious you go to, when they spiritualize certain words they call holy, they have no meaning left. They lose their effect altogether. So we know that, let's go to the Bible for us. Our Bible is the word of God for us, so we look at the Bible and we say, what does it actually mean? What does it actually mean? How does it affect us? And so what is a default state? What state are we supposed to live in? So really, the Master Yeshua Jesus said that there are many states, and he said that of the many states, the two states you're going to come across is a law of retaliation and the law of cause and effect. He was saying that beware, don't live in either of those two states, because they will affect you. He said, what did he say? He said, live in the state of love. Now, of course, he wasn't talking about funky love, ego love, eros love. He was talking about love from a very high dimension, God being love. He was talking from that point of view. Since God is love, we have to learn to live as God lives. Now that's very hard. As some of you have pointed out in this, Kefa was speaking about things earlier. So Rabbi Kefa said that, hey, look, this person will do you wrong, and what do you do? Do you do them wrong back, or do you just love them? It is very difficult, and I'll put myself in the equation. It's very difficult to love people when they've done you wrong, especially when you have been caused financial hardship. It's very hard to love people. People that have caused you financial difficulty, financial hardship, maybe your brother and usually it's the closer people. Usually the financial hardship is caused by your family. That could be a brother, a sister, and it happened with me. It happened with me through a sister, a brother-in-law, and so therefore it's very hard to love those kind of people. I've been there, you've probably been there, we all have the t-shirt, and we all have the scars to prove it. However, to be the better person, you have to learn to love. In other words, love doesn't mean that you're sitting in their lap, and retaliation, definitely not. So, it's, so you could, for instance, be operating on the law of retaliation. Well, he did me wrong, I'm going to do him wrong. He did me this, I'm going to make sure that he pays a penalty, he suffers maximum. See, in our society today, in our families, we want to effect maximum penalty. We want to have the law of retaliation, full force, full on, baby. And that's most how people operate today. But the idea that God had for us was that the law of love should operate all the time in our midst. That was the idea that God wanted Israel to operate in. Unfortunately, Israel never operated, or when they did, it was for a very short period of time. Mostly, they operated with the law of cause and effect, law of retaliation. The prophets came, they spoke about the law of love, they spoke about the law of retaliation, the law of cause and effect. Ultimately, God wanted us to come down. Ultimately, when Jesus of Nazareth came, that was the last straw. That what did he speak to the nation about? All the nation was geared up, retaliation, fight the Romans, kill them, drive them out. Law of retaliation was in their minds. Religion, any religion today, and most religions for this matter, today, wherever there are radical people, usually the law of retaliation is in effect. I mean, this thing that happened in Strasbourg, where a Muslim, call it terrorism, when a Muslim tried to terrorize people, murdered a few people, shot up people, and then later the police shot him. I mean, what is that? That is a law of retaliation as well. Because what? Because in his mind's eye, if you were to ask that guy and said, why did you do this? Why did you kill all these people? Why did you injure them? He'll probably turn around and say, oh, the typical, the spill that they'll give you is that because the Western nations are in our countries fighting a war in the Arab land, in the other land, in the Muslim lands, and so I'm paying back. What is that? The law of retaliation. So what does God really want from us? What is it that we should be living in? We should be living in the law of love. And the law of love requires you to turn the other cheek. That was also Jesus' words. Turn the other cheek. Do not answer, tit for tat. Again, that's very difficult. How many of you will admit today, and I put my hands up, that to turn the other cheek is not easy. It's another hard thing to do. So it's very hard to do that. I have done that. I have turned the other cheek. And there was a Jewish there was a Jewish man. Years ago, I sat in a church, years ago, oh my goodness, going back maybe 20 years, 19 years or something, and there was a Jewish man. He wasn't a Christian, he was Jewish, he was kind of semi-Orthodox, and he came to a Christian chapel, and he was giving a lecture. He was, selling his books that he's written, and he was, he wrote a lot of stuff about Islamic terrorism, etc., etc. Yeah, like he was saying I'm cheekless and have shown so many cheeks. So he kind of made it really funny. He goes that in the Christian faith that you have turn your cheek. He goes, well, you only have so many cheeks. He kind of referring to the bum, to the butt. He goes, you turn one side and you turn the other. There's no more cheeks left. Kind of like that. Kind of fun. I found it quite funny in saying that. So there are only so many cheeks that you have. After that, you run out of cheeks. So the thing is this, that again, it's a law, and it's very hard to practice. Now, I assure you this, that when you practice the law of cause and effect, or the law of retaliation, the same will come back to you back. It will get back to you. That is very good question, Rabbi Yosef. How do we address self-defense and turning the other cheek? Very easy. Self-defense is a right, inherent right that we have to defend ourselves, life and liberty. Americans know this very well. In the British people, they may not be fully aware of this, but here, the law of the gun rules. In other words, we will defend ourselves, and I'm so glad that I'm in this nation, because I don't have to worry about me having a gun or a rifle or a machine gun in my house or a tank standing in my backyard. No worries about that any longer. In England, you're not allowed to have a gun. In England, my goodness, even a kitchen knife might be seen as a weapon in your hands. But the point is this, that we are operating by God's law, which is about law and liberty. In other words, every person has a right to be free. Every person has a right to defend themselves. Therefore, the two marry. In other words, we don't go out to kill people, but we defend ourselves if somebody came to kill us. That is the law of self-defense. And as I'm pretty sure Texans, as Rabbi Kefa will tell you, Texans love their guns. They will never give up their guns, because guns means freedom. It's the wild, wild west, yeah. The wild, wild west, baby. I tell you that. Yeah. And I will tell you, Rabbi Yosef, one thing. The difference between me living in England and here is this. Here my doors are open 24/7, believe it or not. Hardly, sometimes I might close my door and lock it. Hardly, my doors are always open. They're never locked. But in England, you have to make sure your doors are always locked. Why? So that neighbors, people don't come in and take your things, or maybe, you're out of the house. I have gone to the store over here, to a local store like, your Tesco's and your Sainsbury's. I've gone to the local store, left my doors open. Come back, no problem. All the kit, everything is in the house. Why? Why? Because we live in the wild, wild west. This is where the gun rules. Because the law over here says that somebody enters your home, you're allowed to shoot them down and ask questions later. So it is really the wild, wild west, because here, in this house, and I can tell you, I have guns all around me. Literally, I have knives and guns all around me. I have a rifle parked up in the backyard as well. So my point is this, that here, and that might be just a pellet rifle, but it's a rifle, and nevertheless, and I've got knives all over the place. But kitchen knives, of course, not Rambo knives. But my point is this, that here, right, you're allowed to defend yourself. Anybody walks through this house, they're going to have to deal with a fist first and a karate chop, and then we'll talk about who are you. Anyway, that's just a joke, I wouldn't hit people. But my point is this, that we live with that in our minds. We are geared to that. We are geared to the karate chop first and ask questions later. But in England, hello sir, how do you do? Please come in. You invite your thieves in and so they can rob you. This is not England, by the way. This is why I'll never live in England again, because England is all about come in please and take whatever you like and leave. See, that is the law of turning the other cheek, I guess, but it's very hard to do that. See, England had cases where people entered your home and they robbed you, and then they left you, with a black eye and, also bound up. That is not a good thing. See, this is where the law of self-defense comes in, and this is part parcel of God's law. You are allowed to defend yourself. I think this is where England falls short, that they do not allow you to have weapons to protect yourself. I think this is really where British law falls real short, that you must be allowed to have weapons to protect yourself. I was in Pakistan in the northwest frontier, my goodness. Everybody's carrying weapons over there. The Taliban have it, the military has it, the police has it, and Joe on the street has it. Everybody has weapons. And guess what? It's the same law over there. You enter my house, I shoot you down first, I'll ask questions later. over there, right? They ask questions later as well. But, so therefore law and order has to be maintained like that. This is why we were given this. Absolutely, Rabbi Kefa, it's a level playing field. It's not like you can't have it. You will definitely have weapons. But myself, I believe in the law of liberty, which Jacob spoke about in the book of James. And the law of liberty is what? Torah. And what is Torah's highest laws? Love. That's the highest laws of the Torah. When you operate under that law, my goodness, you know that you can't go wrong. Rabbi Yosef, I remember that on that case of the UK farmer who shot the thief that came to rob him, and then the farmer ended up in prison and the thief walked through. Everybody remembers that case. I remember it. Maybe 100 of the people, you ask them, they will know, that UK farmer who, shot this thief, and it wasn't like, he wasn't like waiting with a shotgun. He had a gun, and he only shot the thief when they were fighting. They ended up in a brawl, and then, in ensuing fight, he happened to shoot this thief, and then he ended up in prison. I remember that very well. That case was, my goodness, it was like a case of the century, where a man's trying to defend himself, and he ends up in, Rabbi Kefa, what would happen in Texas on similar case? The Texas farmer would probably put 10 bullets, right, in the thief, and then the police will come and take the body away and say, thank you very much, you did a good job. That's what would happen in Texas. I'm telling you, in Texas, guns rule. And not just Texas, pretty every part of America, guns rule. So that's just the way, because you have to defend yourself. So the law is very clear. The biblical law is very clear. You're allowed to defend yourself. And the biblical law is very clear. The highest form of law, the biblical law, is the law of love. The law of love is where you will not retaliate. In other words, we have to put down the law of retaliation and the law of cause and effect in our lives to be better people. That is the highest standard that we have to live. That's what we are striving for. Now, in our lives, and you can be a testament to this, and you can look at your sides, and you can ascertain, judge yourselves. Look at your past and present, and ask yourselves, when did you operate on the law of love? When did you operate on the law of cause and effect? And when did you operate on law of retaliation? If I go back, I do not remember when it was the last time I acted out the law of retaliation. I just don't remember it, because I've never acted on the law of retaliation in my history. Other than when I was fighting in the ring, but then that's a different story altogether. That was just a tournament. The fittest survive in the ring. So having said that, my point is this, that the highest ideal that is given to us by the Master Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, was the law of love. We have to operate in the law of love. Why? Because just as the law of cause and effect will come back to bite you, so will the law of love affect you. In everything you do in your life, in your relationships, in your business, in your daily living, whichever law is heavy, and you all need to ascertain that for yourselves, whichever law is heavy in your lives, out of these laws that I mentioned earlier, that is what's affecting you. If you value highest form law of love, and that's me, I value law of love as the highest form, and the law of love entails the law of kindness, how to be kind to people. Because that is where we are supposed to be. We are supposed to be a people of love, people of kindness. Good deeds is not something that we have to do as a commandment. It's not a commandment thing. Good deeds should be our default. We should be doing good deeds daily as a default. That is what the sons of Abraham are meant to be. Sons and daughters of Abraham are meant to be good deed doers. And that's that is our standard of living. Problem is that a lot of us, we want to have all these religions, and we want to have all these, different understandings, and we want to be on top of the world, and we forget what our higher standard is meant to be. This is where the problem occurs. In Joseph's scenario, in our Parshas Vayigash, in this scenario, Joseph as a young lad, of course, he was a young lad. He didn't know what he was, whether what he was doing was wrong. He was operating on the law of cause and effect. He goes back and slanders his brothers, gossips about them. Later, he ends up in exile, in prison. Almost his brothers are going to kill him first, and then they'll let him go, and he ends up in prison instead. So, Shabbat Shalom to you, Anna. And so, we notice that Joseph was, in his younger age, operating on the law of cause and effect, without even knowing about it, potentially. Later, he had the law of retaliation in his hand. He could have used that to punish his brothers. When his brothers went to Egypt, and he tried to get his brother Benjamin to stay with him, he could have easily operated on the law of retaliation. Very easy, because he had them cornered. All his brothers were cornered. They were in a downright state. They didn't have the food. He was now at top of the world. But he doesn't. What does Joseph operate on? When Joseph came to his maturity, because as you get mature, you learn, and I'm pretty sure Joseph had many years in prison. When he was in prison, he learned a lot. He learned a lot in prison, and he, fine-tuned himself. He adjusted himself. As he adjusted himself, he learned that the law of love needs to supersede every other law that he knows. So he then operated purely on the law of love. So, the Master Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, to a lot of people, he brought something new. Actually, he brought something old, but he reformulated it, he represented it, and he tried to explain to Israel what it was that they were missing in their actions. And a lot of these people, as you know, in Jesus' time, didn't get it. Hence why today we're without a temple, and today we're without a country as well. Why? Because our people didn't get it. Our people were all gung-ho about fight, drive out the Romans, let's get our land back, let's establish a king. We were all about that. And where are we today? Today we're all dispersed as a result of that. And of course, that was prophecy as well. And so, Ezekiel 37:15 speaks about a time in the future when the truth speaks. The dispersion will finish. Many rabbis today believe that the 10 tribes will never return. When I say many, I mean some rabbis believe that the 10 tribes will never return. Some believe the 10 tribes are already there. They're all mixed up. They're in Israel. They're part of Judah and Benjamin. There's all the 12 tribes now. They're all part of these 2 tribes. They're all mixed up. There's no such thing as a distinct tribe. However, the scriptures, they speak about distinct, separate tribes that will come together and inherit the land. By the way, that is yet future. That is not yet. But right now, where are we, and what do we do? How do we achieve our aim? How do we achieve the best in our lives? For us to achieve the best in our lives is to operate, and I'll tell you exactly what the Master Yeshua, Jesus of Nazareth, said, operate on the laws of love. That is the best that you can have in your life. If you can operate on the law of love and put aside your law of retaliation and law of cause and effect, you will all do great. Not just good, you will all do great. And that needs to be the highest ideal that we all need to live with today. But again, it's something that we have to learn, something that we have to operate in. And it's not going to be easy. Just as it wasn't easy in Yeshua's time, Jesus' time, it wasn't easy for people to accept that. People rejected it. People were like, no, we have the written word of God. See, you can take the written word of God and you can decorate it wherever you want to. It's going to give you nothing. You can have all the written word of God. You can have 15 Bibles on your shelf. It's going to give you nothing if you don't have the law of love operating in your life. That's really the bottom line. And we talk about different laws, and we can give them different names, but really today, the law of love still rules above every other law, and it's the highest form of living if you live that way. So this is why from this parsha, what we learn is that we need to operate in the law of love, not law of retaliation, not law of cause and effect. Because to give you an idea, cause and effect, let me tell you, and fear is another thing. You see, a lot of people who act on the law of cause and effect, and I'm going to have a sip of my coffee because it's getting cold, excuse me. Okay, so a lot of the times, a lot of our people, and today, people who call themselves Bible believing, whatever that means, Bible believing, because they don't even operate on the law of Torah. Torah is like 10,000 miles away from them. So a lot of the time, we open the room, Anna, our room opens these days at 7 a.m. Central Time, 8 a.m. Eastern. That will be about, 12 o'clock UK time? It's like 4 hours, UK is 4 hours ahead these days, or is it 5 hours ahead? Let me have a check. It's 9 o'clock here, and UK is 3:31. 9:31 here. 6 hours. So 6 hours from Eastern and 5 hours from, 6 hours from Central, 5 hours from Eastern. I'm not sure, Canada would be Eastern time, so that's 8 o'clock Canada time, I believe. Rabbi Kefa, correct me if I'm wrong. Canada is Eastern time, isn't it? Atlantic time, okay. Alright, so that's fine. So we are on the Eastern, we ourselves are in the Central time, but Eastern time is 8 o'clock. So having said that, is that we need to understand these different laws and different things going on, because one of the things that I like to present to you is that how do they affect us? And let me be a little bit succinct and explain that the law of cause and effect, and you've all been affected by it. And the Master Yeshua spoke about it numerous times. And I think this is why I always go back to the Matthew chapter 5, which is referred to as a Sermon on the Mount. It's a very important Torah lecture. You can call it Sermon on the Mount and whatever the titles you want to give it, as Christians like to give it. But to me, that is a very important lecture. And I was talking about the law of fear, and the law of hate, the law of, what is one of the laws that will detract you? Okay, fear. Who do we see fear in the Bible? Anybody remember which person in the Bible illustrated fear? Anyone remember that? Christians talk about him a lot sometimes. They talk about this person. Jonah? Not Jonah. There was another person that Christians love to talk about. Not King Saul, not David. This person operated on the law of fear. This person, by the way, that's right, Jacob, that was Job. Ayub, he operated on the law of fear. Why? Because what did he say in one of his testimonies? When when you read the book of Job, it says, that which I feared came upon me. Think about it. That which I feared came upon me. Why? He was so fearful that he would give sacrifices for his sons and his daughters. Why? Because he thought maybe they do something wrong, and they're wrong in God's eyes, and God will inflict us with some punishment. He always operated on the law of fear until that thing came upon him. What came upon him? His own fear came upon him, because he focused. What your focus is on is what you're going to get. Okay? So if your focus is 24 hours on fear, like some of you do, some of you are guilty of that. Who is guilty of that? You know who you are. If you are guilty of fear and you say, oh, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my job, I'm going to lose my job, Christmas is coming, they're going to lay off, I'm going to lose my job. Those of you who are constantly thinking fear, and that's some of you in this room, by the way, you're always thinking fear that my boss is going to lay me off, I'm going to get fired. Guess what? The law of fear takes effect over the law of love. So the law of fear will affect you if you think like that. Because if you're always focusing your thoughts on losing your job, that takes precedent. That comes to effect. So what is the law of fear? Well, the law of fear is something bad's going to happen, right? So what should you do? You should be avoiding that. You should never be attracting fear to yourself, because if you continue to focus on fear, fear will be walking with you hand to hand. Hey darling, how are you doing? Let's walk hand to hand. Today is your last day in the job. You're going to get fired today. Guess what? You get fired. Yes, Rabbi Kefa. Napoleon Hill said, you are what you think about most of the time. And he said, what a mind of man can conceive, what a mind of man can believe it can conceive. So if all you conceive in your mind is fear, and the fear of losing your job or something bad happening, then that's what comes to pass. So the first thing, so what is a superior law? Superior law is a law of love. Only the law of love can remove the law of fear. Because what do scriptures say? Love drives out fear. Perfect love drives out fear. That is what scriptures say. But what do most people operate on? If those of you who operate on fear will get fear coming to their homes. And Job is a classical character who operated on the law of fear. When he operated on the law of fear, who else operated on the law of fear? Anyone remember? Somebody very key operated on the law of fear, and I'll give you a clue, is in the Torah. This person who operated on the law of fear. By the way, this person who operated on the law of fear was no other, not Saul. Saul's not in the Torah. It was the king of Egypt. Remember Pharaoh? Great, Eddie, you got it. Pharaoh. Pharaoh operated on the law of fear. What did he say? Oh, these people are going to overtake me. They're going to grow into a mighty nation. What's going to happen to us? He operated on the law of fear. That law of fear caused him to enslave our people. When he enslaved our people, look how mighty our people came out. We were all slaves for nearly, we lived in Egypt for nearly, 400 odd years. Out of those 400 odd years, we had slavery for about 210 years, of which 85 years of our slavery was the worst. Worst slavery was for about 85 years. We didn't endure, contrary to popular belief and popular writings out there, we did not endure slavery for 400 years. That is just plain wrong. Okay? We never operated, because we were in Egypt for more than 200, let's just say 190 years, and we had great lives over there. We had plush lands, we had cattle, we had all sorts of things going on for us. We were the favorite of the Egyptians, because we had a lot of land, we had a lot of wealth, we had a lot of cattle, sheep, all of that. And then afterwards, this Pharaoh came that the Torah speaks about. The book of Exodus writes about him, and it says that the Pharaoh came, and then the fear came with Pharaoh. He feared the people that they might join the enemy, they might go help somebody else. Let me put them down, let me control them. And then the Pharaoh called his advisors. If you read in the extra books that we have, like book of Yeshar, book of Jasher, it says that Pharaoh called his advisors. And guess who one of the advisors was? No other but Job himself, the very man who is speaking about. Mr. Job was an advisor to Pharaoh. He went over there and he gave some bad advice as well. So what affected Job? Two things affected Job. One, cause and effect. Also in his life, cause and effect. And in Pharaoh's life, of course, Pharaoh was operating under fear, and guess where Job was operating? Job was also operating under fear, because he saw his leader, Pharaoh, operating in fear. So how did Job get it? Job saw it in Pharaoh. Fear begets fear. Absolutely, Rabbi Kefa. Fear begets fear. And the only, absolutely, Eddie, the only people that did not operate on fear, but operated on the law of love, was the priesthood, the Kohanim. Excuse me, the Kohanim, they operated on the law of love. Why? Because the Kohanim said, look, we don't want to be part of this nonsense going on around us. You know, our people are afraid, you know, they want to operate on fear, and these people want to do this. No, we are totally free. God made us free. We live in the law of liberty. We are not going to touch any of this. We're going to operate on love. The Kohanim refused to go into labor with the Egyptians for a sake of salaries or whatever. They said, no, we're not going to do that. They stepped aside. And the Kohanim, therefore, to this day, history has it, we were never slaves. None of our families of the Kohanim, the priesthood, Levites, none of them were ever in slavery. So the negative aspect of your mind will affect you today. In this 2018, you know, we're in December now, your negative aspects will affect you. This is why, what do I say to you? As a Kohen in the gate, and I happen to be in the gate today in your lives, and you know, I visit different gates. Sometimes I'm in Pakistan, sometimes in England, sometimes in some part of Europe, or in, you know, in America, for that matter. Is that you got to operate, it's just like me today, in the highest form that God has given us, the law of love. We have to operate on the law of love. You know, Christmas is around the corner. Today is 15th of December. Christmas is around the corner. And, you know, in another 10 days' time, a lot of your families will be celebrating Christmas, and you'll start seeing Santa Claus in supermarkets and, you know, outside big shops and stores, and children, everybody will be all excited about Santa Claus and gifts and Christmas trees. All of that's going to happen. So now, Mishpacha, now Yisrael, if you are Israel, now is your time to show the highest form of your love. Why? You can do it two ways. You can be like Job, and you can have this fear, and you can have this law of retaliation, hate. Oh, I hate Christmas. I hate my parents doing this. I hate them putting up these trees. You can operate on the law of hate. Intolerance. Intolerance is a worst poison that you can introduce into your life. That is a worst poison that anyone can introduce into their lives. Remove intolerance. Replace intolerance with love. Or you can love. Or you can say, you know what, Mom and Dad has put up Christmas tree, no problem. I'm going to go sit there. I'm going to greet my father. I'm going to love my mother, and I'm going to give them a big hug. You know, so this is what you have to operate on, is love. Now is the time to really, you know, fine-tune yourselves. If you have any hatreds, remove them. Because your parents are going to be calling you to dinner, maybe your sister, maybe your brothers, you know, they have a family dinner and you have to attend. Rabbi Yosef, the idea of a tree is a very late derivative, but it is not what's taught out there. You know, it's not what's taught in Christianity and circles like that. Christmas tree is, to me, is simply a representation of an event. That's all. It's not nothing to do with idolatry. It's got nothing to do with false worship. Nothing. It's just simply a witness of an event in history where, for instance, Jesus of Nazareth was born, and you know the Roman Catholic Church devised this date, 25th of December, as a birthday. You know, you're gonna hear during this time fundamentalist Christians, fundamentalist people telling you, oh, it's Saturnalia, is this, is that, Romans did this, Romans did that. That is a law of hate. You are going to get a lot of law of hate entering your lives, but you're going to be circumspect. Law of love needs to override law of hate. Because just as law of gravity is the law of God, the law of gravity doesn't care about your color, it doesn't care about the clothes you wear, it doesn't care about what religion you practice. The law of gravity is always in effect. But what supersedes the law of gravity is the law of lift. If you're going to fall off a cliff and you're in a plane, well, you better have the law of lift effective so your plane can lift off and it can beat the law of gravity. So therefore, it is very important that we operate in the law of lift, not law of law of gravity. So Leaning Tower of Pizza is saying, is a nickname, is saying Christmas tree evolved in Germany when early church missionaries used the three-pointed Christmas tree to demonstrate to simple people the three persons of the Holy Trinity. Okay, thank you for that. So as I was saying, that the law of lift can defy the law of gravity. Therefore, if you're going to be dealing with a lot of hate during this time as well, because you're going to have family members who hate Christmas tree, and those that love Christmas tree, and those that are going to celebrate Christmas, and those that don't celebrate it. You're going to have, that kind of family. My suggestion always, as has always ever been, I've never, said, oh, hate your parents. We are commanded, it's a Torah law, it's God's law, that we should love our parents. It's a commandment, by the way. And it's been written in our 10 commandments. It's enshrined in our law that we respect and we love our parents. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means if your mom and dad have set up a Christmas dinner and they invite you, it means that you're going to have to go. And you're going to have to not go with a somber face, with a face dropping to the floor. You're going to have to go with a happy, smiley face, because you were born into their household. So it is imperative that you show love to your parents back. Now, a lot of you might be like, well, Rabbi, I don't know if the parts they eat in is kosher, and I don't know if that turkey is kosher, and I don't know if that chicken is kosher. You see, here's the problem. This is where the law of love overrides all this kosher nonsense. Because kosher is something that was invented because God has permissible and not permissible foods. God doesn't ever mention the word kosher in the Hebrew language. By the way, because I read the Hebrew and I understand it, and I will tell you that there is no mention of kosher in God's food laws, ever, not even once. So when God speaks about a chicken, or God speaks about a bird such as chicken, or God speaks about an animal like cattle, He never uses the word kosher. So this is something that we need to really get it and understand. A lot of us, we already know that. We've been through it a number of times, and we understand that the whole kosher industry is just that, a scam, basically. Scam to make money. Double up the profits, triple the profits, because it's got a label that says it's glad kosher. So don't fall into that. Now, the Rabbi Yeshua, the Master Yeshua said what? He said that it is not what you eat that makes you clean or unclean. It is the things from your heart. Okay? So I'm summarizing what he said. It is not what you eat. So if you're going to sit at your parents' table and eat the turkey or eat the chicken, it is not that that's going to make you kosher or not kosher. Because that is irrelevant. It's what's in your heart. So if you're going to carry hate, you can have the most kosher chicken in Britain. You can buy it from, from Golders Green, from a Jewish store, Glad Kosher. You can buy that Glad Kosher from a Golders Green store, a Jewish store, and take it home, and you can be sitting with your parent, and you'll be hating your parents. Or why do they have a Christmas tree? Why do they have a Christmas tree? See, that's the problem. Stamford Hill, you can go buy from Stamford Hill in London. Or you can go to New York and get the best kosher chicken in town. But if you carry hate, then that kosher chicken is of no benefit to you. Even if your parents cooked it in kosher chicken and they made sure that the pots were all boiled in hot water and a little prayer was said on them, guess what? We have no such prayers in our Bible. Guess what? So, what was meant to be done? Well, simply this. You boiled you put your new kettle, you boiled it in water or hot water, and that was it. Without any so-called prayers. All these prayers that you read in the so-called Siddur, that you find in a lot of synagogues, all of these prayers are invented later. They are what I call traditions. So exactly, because Master Yeshua, what did he say? When you go into a non-Israelite home, eat what they give you. Yeah, he did say that. And so his point was simply this, that it is not what you eat, it's what you harbor inside you. If you harbor hate, you can eat the best kosher chicken in town, that hate will not disappear. So I think it's much more important to understand the laws. The law of love defies every other law that we know about. Why? Because the law of love is a higher form of love, higher form of law. It's the highest law in other, compared to the law of retaliation, compared to the law of sow and reap, it is the highest form of law. So during this time, it's going to be imperative that you love people around you. And I'm not saying for just December. I'm not saying, only do it on December 25th or December 15th. This needs to operate in your life, period, all times. All times you should be operating in the law of love, and that is what Jesus of Nazareth came with, and that is what we want to teach people, and it's all about that. Everything else is commentary. We can talk about it, we can talk about the commentary, but God in essence is love. And if God is love, and if you believe that Jesus, Yeshua of Nazareth, is God, is love, then you have to operate in love. You have to operate like your master. And if you don't operate like your master, there is a problem. There is a problem in that we need to remove that problem. There might be hate, there might be indifference, it might be intolerance. We need to remove that. So, because you will become, whatever you think about, remember what I said earlier, if all you think about is fear, I'm going to lose my job. If that's what your fear is, then that's what will come to pass. What if you always thought about, now let me give you another thought. What if you thought about always that you're going to be wealthy, that you're going to be a millionaire, that you're going to be rich? Guess what you're going to be? Guess what opportunity is going to come your way? Exactly what you're thinking about. So whatever you concentrate on is what you're going to become. So don't concentrate on hate, don't concentrate on fear. Consciously remove those things from your life, consciously. And we've spoken about these things many times before. I spoke to a family yesterday, and I said to them, they're a poor family in the East. I said to them, never think about you being poor. Remove that from your lives. From today, start thinking yourselves of prosperity, of love, of abundance. Start thinking like that. Because I said, the moment I walked in your homes, you did not lack. The moment I walked into your houses, you had abundance. Abundance came to your house. You know what the woman said? She said that you came to our house, it was like God has sent an angel into our home. Only that you had man's face, but you really sent angel sent in disguise. We believe that. She said, I teach my children that this man that you see, this man might look like a man, but he's really sent by God as an angel to us. She said, our situation has changed. We're no longer thinking like lack, poor, inadequate. So these things are very important to understand. And I'm not talking about books. I'm not talking about because it says such and such. The law of love is the highest form of love in our scriptures. Our scriptures talks about all sorts of laws. Law of hate, law of love, law of greed, law of pride, law of ego. All sorts of loves are spoken about in scripture. But the highest ideal is given, the law of love. That's what Jesus brought. Jesus said that if you follow me and you want to follow my ways, then, that is, what is salvation? What is salvation? He told, follow me. Follow me. If you follow me, you'll get salvation through me. So he taught people to follow him, to follow his ways, to be like him, to receive salvation through him. Rabbi Yosef, you're saying that, so HaKohen Yahweh's Torah law has to be obeyed and lived, but the love aspect was not prevalent much. That's why Master Yeshua operated mostly in the energy of love and forgiveness without diminishing the Torah. Absolutely. You see, the highest form of Torah's law, the highest law that the Torah speaks about is love. The Torah mentions other laws, like I showed you from Leviticus 24. God didn't say that, well, you're going to do this. It didn't say that, retaliate. It didn't say, operate Israel in the law of retaliation, so here it is. It didn't say it. He said that if you operate in the law of retaliation, it'll come back to you. That's what Leviticus 24 is all about. Leviticus 11, if you read Leviticus 11, it's all about the different animals that God created and what animals benefit us and what don't. So it doesn't talk about, well, if you eat pork, you're going to be 10 foot high. It doesn't talk like that. You got to understand it from God's perspective. Look, I have hens over here, in my home, and I can tell you that there's about 16 of them, 16 hens, 2 turkeys. These 16 hens, when I let loose in the yard, my goodness, my grass is mowed every day. They eat anything. So, when I have apples, if I had lemon peels, I throw it out there, they'll eat lemon peels, they'll eat anything. So chickens, right, are operating like a lawnmower for me, because they're cleaning my grass. So this is why certain animals that God created were created as cleaners. And as you already know that, the shellfish, those things in the sea, they were created to clean up the sea. Radiation, other things, dead things in the sea were all created to be cleaned up by these things that you call shellfish and other things. So the other thing is this, that in the same way the pork, pig, it was created to be a cleaner. Now, if you want to eat pork because you love it, because you like it, because it's part of your tradition, I'm not going to judge you for it. If you want to eat it because it's part of your family tradition, that's your tradition. That's for you to decide how you live. But I can tell you that the Torah says that do not eat it. Why? Because Torah doesn't say that you're condemned because you eat it, so we can't get it all twisted and wrong. Torah never says if you eat pig you're condemned. It doesn't say that. Because the fat, the pork has a lot of fat. There's a lot of properties of pork that are not good for you. So the Torah speaks from different angles. Now the problem is this, that we can be all religious and fundamentalists and say, well, if you eat pork you're going to be condemned. You see, we can take that approach. Or we can take the approach that, no, it's not the food, exactly what the Master was saying, it's not what you eat, it's how you operate. So you have to decide for yourself. So rather than me having to loan my mown every day, I have some chickens, they loan my mown, so they do a great job. So this is why it's very important that it's not what you eat which will give you redemption. It's what you do that will give you redemption. And we always, all these laws are all around us. All of these laws are all around us, and they affect us. So my suggestion to you is exactly as Joseph operated. Joseph in this Parsha, Vayigash, he operated in the law of love. He didn't do retaliation. He could have easily retaliated against his brothers, put them in prison, and make their life really hard, punish them for what they did. He didn't do that. Secondly, he could have operated in the law of cause and effect. He could have said, you did this to me, now I'm going to do that to you. You had it coming, okay? Now you can't complain. He could have used that, he didn't. So when we keep saying Torah, 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 what does Torah present to us? The Torah presents us the law of love through Joseph. And we see the law of love through Moses. We see the law of love through Aaron, through priesthood. Everything that we really look at reveals love to us. Then we come to the Master Yeshua, the Messiah. What does he reveal to us? The law of love. So if you want to be saved, if you want to be redeemed, if you want to be happy, I'm not saying that because you were born a Hindu, therefore you're condemned, because only God decides who is condemned and who is saved. But what we are told in our scriptures is that if you follow the Master Yeshua, redemption will be yours. So I think that it's very important to understand what is redemption, because we are a covenant-based people. We are a covenant-based people. God gave us covenants, and through covenants, we had what we call rescue or redemption. Our rescue redemption is through our covenants, period. Doesn't matter what anybody else says. If you're in the covenant of the Torah, you're already redeemed. And if you're in the covenant of the Master Yeshua, you're already redeemed as well. But if you're going to believe that I have to say a word to be redeemed, that's nonsense. That's Christianity. That's Judaism, that's whatever, Islam, whatever you want to call it, whatever titles you want to give it. Because if you're going to say, oh, if only you say these words you're saved, I'm sorry, because that's not what we are told. Our scriptures don't say that. or if I utter those particular words, I'm saved, and if I don't, I'm not saved. What are you talking about? God is love. God's already laid out His laws. God doesn't change. God doesn't change every 2,000 years and invent something new. So the Master Yeshua He came so that we may have life abundant life. Did he anywhere say that I came that you may suffer? I came that you may struggle? I came that you may live in hate, live in fear? No, He doesn't say that. So we have to understand Jesus' word from Jesus' own mouth the proper way. Learn to love. Learn to love everybody. Learn to love. Because if you love everybody, what you're demonstrating is God in you. There is God in you. Because what did Jesus say to the people? You are gods. Well, we are like God because we carry God's attributes in us. We are like, what is God's highest attribute? Love. Well, if I'm continuously showing hate, then there must be something wrong with me. If I'm showing hate, then I've got the faulty component. That faulty component is going to be me, not God, because God's not faulty. God is perfect. So this is what we have to understand, is that remembering that the Torah doesn't contradict itself. The Master Yeshua doesn't contradict the Torah. They all harmonize via the attribute of love. So I'm going to appeal to you that they are listening to this message, that yes, Jesus is the highest, He revealed the highest form attribute was to love people. Is to love self. And in order to follow Him and in order to obey Him, you have to learn to stop hating people. Stop criticizing people. Stop putting them down. So therefore, if Jesus said that I am the way, the truth, and the life, well, clearly, if you want to enter into the kingdom, He told you that you have to live like me. You have to follow like me. You have to be like me. And I think that's not a bad message. That's fine. That is Torah, by the way. So if you follow the Messiah, if you believe in Him as a Messiah, if you believe in Him as your Savior, then you shall have it. Then that will be given to you. And if you don't, it's fair enough. If you don't, we're not here to force people. There's no force. So highest ideal of love is to live as the Master Yeshua, and this will tally up. This will tally up with Moses. This will tally up with Abraham. It will tally up with all our prophets and God Himself. So God Himself demonstrated Himself coming on this earth as a man, that how to live. And I think that's great. So with that, I think it's important that we understand that we got to treat this, this message, this thing, this person, just as another book to read, every week and pick it up on Sabbath, Saturday and read it and then put it down. No, we have to live it. If we live the highest form, or even if we live a small form of God, but at the same time, remember, if you're compliant to the laws of God, God has many laws. The more you're compliant, the more you will reap the benefit. The less you're compliant, the more they'll go away from you. So therefore, come in with a repentant, with a sincere heart, with a good heart, then you will receive good. If you come in with a evil heart, cutting corners here and there and doing this, that, then you're going to receive the same. So remember, from today, some of you still operate with this idea that I am black, therefore there must be something wrong with me. Some of you are operating with that idea in North America, that because I'm black, there's something wrong with me, and everybody's going to mistreat me. You are carrying that in your mind. Well, Michelle Obama's not carrying that. Oprah Winfrey's not carrying that. How come they are making it good? So you have to ask yourself, where is the problem? Clearly the problem is in you. You're the faulty unit. So correct the faulty unit, raise up the love, and things will work out for you. As a man thinketh, so is he. Said by Emerson, I believe, and also said by Nightingale, as a man thinketh, so is he. So start thinking good of yourself. Start thinking of good ideals. And as I said, that you're going to be dealing with Christmas. You're going to be dealing with Christmas trees. Stop, hating people for who use Christmas trees as a witness or as a tradition. Stop hating people. With that, I'm going to pass it back to Rabbi Kefa. Todah for listening. Have a great Sabbath, great week ahead. Shabbat Shalom, Shalom, Shalom.
Yeah, Todah HaKohen, it's a wrap on my end over here. So if there's any questions, please feel free. Any testimonies that you want to give esteem to the Master, please feel free to do so at this time. Yeah, it's a wrap on this end over here. So we'll wrap it up if there's no questions. You guys enjoy your 6 days of labor ahead. Enjoy your Shabbat this day with your family members, friends, and loved ones. And if you missed some of the recording, remember we start 7 o'clock. Central time here in Texas time here. So make the necessary adjustments. So if you do miss it, then you can follow it up on the YouTube. No problem. Follow it up on the YouTube under HaKohen's link. It's SIM, S-A-M, Alt, A-L-T, YouTube link. And then you can get the teachings there as well, okay? So I wish you all a great day. Shabbat Shalom or Shalom Shalom to you, wherever you are in the world. And let's continue to be that example to the God of Israel in everything that we do, by how we live our lives and make a difference in humanity. Okay? Shabbat Shalom to all of you. And we'll wrap it up on this end. Okay? Take care.
Todah for that, Rabbi Kefa. So you will wrap it up. And if any questions, now is a good time to give questions. If you want to give testimonies, if you haven't done so, by all means, you can give testimony here, no problem. But as I said, that, this is we're going to be dealing with a lot of festivities in the next week or so ahead. Learn to be, good to people, learn to be tolerant, love your families, love your brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter whether they agree with you or they don't agree with your faith. I think that is the least of our problems that we need to deal with. So what you dish out is what you will dish in. Let's put it in a nutshell. What you give out is what you're going to get. So start operating on the highest ideals of the Torah, and God's highest ideal is love. With that, I'm going to close this room. I have a wonderful week. We're closing earlier here. I guess in the UK it's almost evening over there. It's 4 o'clock. But here it's like 10 o'clock Central Time, 10:07. And 11:07. So next week, those of you who didn't know are probably new to this room. If you want to enter this room, the room is open from just before 7 Central. It'll probably be open 15-20 minutes earlier. And so we start at 7 Central or 8 Eastern US time. Okay. Todah, have a great day, great Sabbath. Enjoy with your families. Shabbat Shalom, Shalom.